Hello there, everybody. It's me, Garrett Kidney, the co-host of You've Got to Be Kidding Me on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.
And I am Liam Jones, my full name, and I'm also a part of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network as a co-host for You've Got to Be Kidding Me.
We are a TNA history podcast that covers TNA 1 month at a time. We cover all the drama, all the matches, all the Vince Russo nonsense you could ever want in your life.
Have you heard of TNA? I bet you have, but would it be funnier if two people made jokes over it the whole time? Probably.
So if that sounds like fun to you, check it out on this very Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network, and Liam will do bits and whatnot.
TNA is the best wrestling in the whole world!
Think this is funny? No. Why would you do this?
Told to.
Get a life! Get a life!
Actually, a couple weeks ago, I lost my tripod.
Oh, don't worry, I got your tripod. Right here.
Vince Russo.
Oh, come on, I hate him! Now, he's a waste of time! Come on, man up! Man up, dog, what's up?
You see that, Joe? That's a vein. Something you don't have, you little fat bastard.
This is BS! This sucks! I've lost my objectivity, and I don't give a damn!
Welcome, everybody, to You've Got to Be Kidding Me, episode number 49. We are a TNA history podcast that covers TNA 1 month at a time. On this episode, we are talking about the month that is June 2006, leading up to Slammiversary 2006. I am Garrett Kidney. I'm joined by Liam Jones.
Oh, hello.
Tell me everything about how you're feeling.
Tired. Dismayed. Devilish. Distraught.
Oh.
Doom.
See, you started with bad things, then you threw in devilish, which I think is a good podcast mentality. Devilish is like, oh, that makes for a good podcast, but then you went to distraught afterwards, so.
Dangerous. Deadly.
Are you only feeling D emotions?
Yes.
Have you run out of D emotions?
Dandy.
Delicious?
Nutritious.
No, that doesn't begin with D.
That's what I am, though. This is good radio.
The best radio. What's going on with you?
Nothing.
Nothing at all?
Nothing.
Nothing has happened in the world of Liam Jones?
Nothing at all.
I did jury duty recently.
You were on the show with the man from Sonic.
Yes, I was on the television show Jury Duty with James Marsden.
James Marsden from Red Dead Redemption.
Yes, he is a real person. He came to life from the video game into the television show.
And even though it's John Marsden.
No, they wanted to cast they were like, that guy's really good. Can we cast him? And like the voice, no, we want the character. We want to pull him into our TV show, please.
They should start doing that. They should start putting characters in other things, just straight up being like, I want John Marsden and I'm gonna put him in Home and Away.
Yeah, and you're gonna be like, I want to make a Breaking Bad sequel. I want Wacko from the Animaniacs in it.
Exactly. Like, they should start just letting everything should be copyright free IP. Yes,
we're just gonna play all of Steamboat Willie now, so that's how it should work.
We should be able to do anything we want.
Corporations should never be allowed to make money, and we should be allowed to do whatever the hell we please with their intellectual property.
I should be able to stream all wrestling content to the lovely listeners, if you've got to be kidding me.
Without fear of reprise.
Exactly.
Just jump on Twitch and see how far you get.
I should be able to go on Twitch, I should be able to put on Forbidden Door with my friends, and we should be able to just hang out, and they pay me.
We want to protect pay-per-view. Fuck you.
We need our money because we're billionaires.
So, but yes, I did not get selected for a jury.
I forgot that was where this conversation started.
Yeah, you veered off into James Marsden. I actually did get selected for one, but it was a murder trial, and they were like, "We need you free for the entire months of June and July." And I was like, "Sorry, I do not have that."
Yeah. But it have been good money. Do you get paid to be jury duty?
You only get paid by the company you work for, so you get well, this is how it works in Ireland anyway. You are continued to be paid your regular salary, which for me at the moment is nothing because I am on a 5-month leave from work.
I would do it.
So I would be doing it entirely for free for civic responsibilities.
For the love of the game.
Just to serve my community and put somebody in jail or free them from jail.
I'm just remembering the Jury Duty episode where they're like, just say that you're racist.
Just to get out of it?
Yeah, to get out of it. And he's like, I'm a racist. And they're like, is that true? And he's like, no.
Also, there is probably certain cases if you say, I'm a racist, they're like, fuck yeah, pick him.
For jury duty? I would trust a race.
There is, like, certain instances, like they don't actually, well, they do strike jurors, but they're not like, tell me something about yourself. They're just like, nah, I don't like the look of him. I assume they have certain information on me based on, I think you do have to give the court services certain information about yourself, like occupation and stuff. So I assume they have that in front of them. It's like, this guy, nah.
This guy hosts a TNA wrestling podcast.
Yeah, you just have the defense just listening to you and me screaming about something, killing some kind of monarch or something, and they're like, oh, we can't have monarch killers.
Well, Ireland would probably love that.
That's true, actually. Yeah, that would get me on any jury. Would earn me all of the respect.
Tell me, Garrett.
Yes, Liam Jones.
I want to give homework to the list.
Oh, they love that.
They love that shit. Give them one match from a TNA Impact that we haven't seen yet that they should go out and watch as we've done the anniversary or whatever.
Oh, so to celebrate, like, TNA Impact turning 20.
Yeah, give them something to go out and watch that you think is an underrated classic, something that isn't talked about a whole hell of a lot.
Does it have to be, like, a big, long match, or can I give them, like, a 5-minute
No, something
TV
fun.
spread?
Give them something fun. Something that's, like, on YouTube or something.
It might not be on YouTube, but you might have to go to your TNA Plus subscription.
Or Daily Motion.
Let me check the date of the match because it's in mid-2009 or teetering toward late 2009. There you go. So the September 3rd Impact 2009, there is an AJ Styles Chris Sabin match. And it is 5 minutes long. And it is fucking awesome. Because Styles and Sabin never really had a big singles. I think they had one in Ring of Honor and like one in Germany as well, and then a couple of short ones in TNA. So they never had like the big singles you would hope Styles and Sabin would have, or like you would expect them to have based on the fact that they were in TNA together for like a decade and then never really crossed paths. Like two X Division guys, and you just stick them in a couple TV matches. But it is 5 minutes 30 seconds, and it kicks so much ass.
It is on YouTube.
Yeah, go watch that.
Unofficial means.
Watch whatever you want. It has like a 6.73 on Cage Match. So that is our official 20th anniversary of TNA recommendation. AJ Styles versus Chris Sabin from the September 3rd, 2009 episode of Impact.
What awesome gear from both guys.
Oh, that era of AJ gear is like the best AJ gear.
And it's the best like Machine Guns era.
It really upsets me that all of AJ's gear is just boring now. It's just boring pants. When
Why
he
did
used
he
to have
not
this
get
awesome
good gear? Like he's been a gear guy his whole life. When did he decide no longer to be cool?
Yeah, and it's just like the same gear he's had for a decade now, and it's gotten worse over that time even though the version of those tights have gotten worse from like New Japan.
Yeah. What are we doing, AJ? Get your spark back.
Well, he's retiring soon, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Also, AJ, go home. AJ, please.
To New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Wait a minute. He's going to Noah. That's his real home.
To Ring of Honor.
No, he can't work a title eliminator versus Wheeler Yuta on Ring of Honor TV that no one will
Why
ever
not?
watch. Because no one will ever watch it.
They probably will if AJ does it.
I don't think they will.
I think they would. I think people might tune in for that one.
I feel like Hulk Hogan could wrestle Bill Goldberg on Ring of Honor and everyone would be
Holy
like,
shit, Chris Sabin.
Yeah, that match is so good. I like the way Liam is now just watching this match.
He did a goddamn, roll through, legs out the ropes to the outside, catch AJ and Rana him.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
Chris Sabin is awesome.
Maybe one day he'll prove that to me.
Wait a minute. What? Oh.
Also, this is the peak of TNA aesthetics.
You do love your TNA 2009, especially because it's when you started watching TNA.
It is so good looking. Yeah, that's why it's because when I started watching. That's why it's the best era.
But it is there's a lot of gripes you can have with the Hogan Bischoff era of TNA. But visually and aesthetically, TNA at that period, 2008, 2009 TNA, when they went HD in the Impact Zone, looks so good.
There's very few companies that look better.
Yeah, you watch wrestling today, and I don't think any of them look as good as that.
I'm hoping that, with Collision going to a studio for 2 months or whatever, that maybe they just have a fun studio environment that could look like something like this, because I don't know, it's all esportsy and stuff. There's probably lights that can be used. But it's I just want something that's bright and cool and fun and full and, and also they have the greatest benefit of all, which is the 6-sided ring.
But even the color palette is
it's bright.
Warmer.
It's just bright. Wrestling needs to be brighter.
And then Hogan and Bischoff came in and it just became a lot more boring looking.
It's funny how a company from 2009 looks more futuristic than every company in 2024.
Because WWE have went too far the other end in which it is blindingly bright.
And not Not like in a fun way, like in a presented by Coca-Cola way.
Yeah, it just makes it like sterilized more than like vibrant.
Yeah.
And then AEW is almost, because like they could go for dark and grungy as an aesthetic, and I would acknowledge and respect that, but they kind of don't. They just go for like a darker, grungier version of WWE, what WWE or what every wrestling company has ever looked like. And it's like, well, you're serving no master here.
Yeah.
You just kind of look like nothing.
Yeah, they really don't have kind of like a definitive identity. I mean, listen, they have the big bonus of they brought the tunnels back at least. Which is like an improvement. But I don't know if I love the current aesthetic of Dynamite.
Yeah.
Collision's fine. Collision is what it is.
There's nothing that pops. It's just a wrestling show. Just like, okay. Which is fine, I guess. But I like we talked about it when TNA launched Impact, when you had like tunnels either side of the building, 6-sided ring, you had lasers, you had, time limits, you had the Fox box, you had a bunch of stuff that when you immediately turned on TNA Impact, you're like, this looks like wrestling I haven't seen before.
Yeah, especially since they were replacing WWE on TV, They had to have a different visual identity immediately to separate themselves.
Whereas you watch AEW and you watch WWE, and they could be the same. Like there was somebody posted an image last night of the last time Punk was like sitting in the ring in Chicago from like Money in the Bank 2011, and it was like identical. It looked the exact same. It's like if you had told somebody the clip on the right was also from 2011 and not 2024, that you would believe them, because that like the aesthetic has not changed in 13 years.
Yeah.
Which like imagine if you like, it's the same thing from like 1984 to 1997. Think about how different the WWF looked in the mid 80s versus how it looked in the late 90s, and it just we haven't evolved the look.
Companies should be a little less afraid,
Start making big swings.
Big swings, new matches, be weird, be crazy, be different.
Have you finished watching AJ Styles versus Chris Sabin?
Yes, it is finished.
I decided to try and filibuster for the exact length of the match.
Yeah, you were about 20 seconds too long.
Damn.
But not bad, not bad.
It's a good match.
It is.
You might have lost. Alex Shelley's on commentary for it as well. He's very charming.
I did see him. I did not hear him.
Him and Taz have a lovely rapport.
Taz just rocking a shirt. Very funny.
This is like month 2 of Taz in TNA as well. Maybe month 1. When did he start? He started like... Yeah, this is actually his first TV month. So clearly he's really caring at this point.
That's all. Really, really showing it. Really showing support for the home team.
Before we get into the news, you can go, Liam, to patreon.com/kiddingme or tnachat.com, where you can be like, I like Garrett, I like Liam even more, I would like to go and give them money. And it's like, hell yeah, I like money. You like money. Don't we all like money? But you're like, I don't want to just get nothing for my money. I don't want to just like give you money and get nothing in return. We would never do that to you, even though if you would like to donate, there's a donate button somewhere that you can just give us money. We'll also take that. But you can go to patreon.com/kiddingme, where you can get our ongoing Lucha Underground series. You can get our ongoing New Japan Pro Wrestling series. You can get our old Ring Ka King series, our old PWG series, which will return, our old Monday Night War series from 2010. You can get all of these shows. We talked about Wrestling Society X. All of it. Sitting there. A full series. A bunch of full series waiting for you at patreon.com/kiddingme. You can also get the watch-alongs, including the watch-along for Slammiversary 2006, our star ratings, our show notes, our watch-along of Ghost Ship, our review of Chris Rock's Head of State, our review of Macho Man Randy Savage's album. We did a bunch of drafts. We have done a bunch of end-of-year awards. All of that. Tons of it. Over 140, I think, pieces of exclusive audio now waiting for you at tnachat.com, patreon.com/kiddingme. Go subscribe, go support the show, and go get a lot of us in return. Maybe some might say too much of us, but I would say there's never too much of us.
That's the slogan for the Patreon.
Maybe too much, but I don't think so.
Let's just shorten it to there's never too much of us.
Also, of course, ad-free episode. If you're like, the ads are kind of annoying, there's the $1 tier, which on Patreon, on which you can get the entire episode ad-free. So that's sitting there waiting for you too.
Wow, that's a steal. I'm gonna go buy it right now, and for all my family.
Every person you know.
Yep.
Also, you get first look at the posters, and the Steiner Joe one this month is really good.
It's awesome sauce.
Yes.
I would buy it if it was on a shirt.
That brings us to the news. But before we get to the news, this is, of course, Slammiversary. This is the 4th anniversary of TNA. So tell me, Liam, after 4 years of TNA, how are you feeling?
It feels like we're finally watching TNA proper. I don't know if I have a generally positive review of TNA or not.
Yeah?
I think still the first 4 years, restrained by the fact that there isn't a lot of great wrestling. The TV is mostly boring. The stories generally kind of suck.
Yeah.
That's kind of my feelings about it. But, much like, I think the general ethos or perhaps the true meaning of a TNA is that you gotta sift through the shit and the mud and the muck. But when you do find something in there, a little glimmering piece of gold, it really sticks out. And it just buries its way deep into your soul. Like I will never forget like AMW Team Canada stuff, you know? I like that random World X Cup stuff with Hoovy. Like there's just things that just burrow into your senses and they stick with you. And I think like out of all of the watch along projects that people do in their lives, like I think the TNA one is both incredibly easy to commit to because like everything's just there and available, and unlike watch along projects of like an Old Japan or a New Japan or whatever where you watch it, you just get to see all this cool shit. You have to earn the cool shit when you watch TNA. You don't just get it handed to you on your Ring of Honor platter with your CM Punks and whatever. You have to watch your fucking Diamonds in the Rough, your BG James, and then you get Samoa Joe, Scott Steiner, and good on you.
You've earned it.
You have to earn the good shit in TNA. You don't just get it.
And that is what you have learned across 4 years of TNA.
Is that most of it sucks. But when it's good, it's good. And it's really funny. It's the funniest wrestling promotion ever to exist. Both in ways that are intentional and ways that are not intentional.
Yeah, because I saw a clip during the rounds of just like a 2-minute Hulk Hogan Ric Flair promo where they are the most ridiculous men you've ever seen in your life. They're just bouncing off each other and being insane. And it's so good. It's so good. And there's a bunch of stuff like that where they're just like, let's just stick a camera on charismatic people and see what happens. We don't need to actually script things. But then there is a bunch of like actually good comedy, as you said. There's a bunch of just like, a Team 3D Funeral or Paparazzi Productions, of which we're in the middle of now, or I guess the start of. There's actually a note about Alex Shelley's t-shirt, which I think we'll find interesting in a moment.
Is it that we're going to bootleg it and drop ship it?
Yeah, of course. Hey, when I suggested that our first shirt be orange, which I don't think we could do because I ordered a sample and they cancelled it, you shot it down, so...
Hey, kind of flushed it out too much.
But it is, like, this is an era for wrestling in general, especially US wrestling, where the people that make wrestling don't like wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, that is the same in the WWE, it's the same in TNA. They're chasing a version of wrestling that limits the amount of wrestling that happens on the wrestling show.
There's one thing you can't say about 2024 wrestling. I do think that the people who book the wrestling are fans of the wrestling.
Yeah, even if you want to be as cynical as you would like about Triple H's booking philosophy.
I think he is someone who enjoys pro wrestling at its core still. Like,
yeah.
Like, I think that's the difference between WWE booking now and Vince's booking. It's gone from someone who despises the business that they're in to someone who I think still enjoys it.
Who, like, likes the moment of the payoff of Cody Rhodes winning. Like, that feeling. Which is like, it's always the thing I'm kind of baffled at. I get the people that don't like wrestling, because they really don't like wrestling. Like, Eric Bischoff does not like professional wrestling. He wanted to produce television. Which is fine, because that brought a new edge to wrestling in the 90s. But I'm sick of fucking hearing about this man who doesn't like wrestling. And it was like, same with Vince Russo. He was a man who did not like watching wrestling, but he did like television, and he could not actually become a television writer, but he could write wrestling television, so that was his way into television. And you get a lot of people like that, and like, wrestling is television. You can't lose sight of the fact that it is a television product, a television show for people to watch, that you don't want to lose people during commercial breaks, and there's a bunch of stuff you have to think about like that. It is a television show, but you are attracting a wrestling audience. As I've always said, if you would like drama, watch The Wire. If you would like comedy, watch Parks and Recreation. If you would like wrestling, watch fucking wrestling. Stop watching wrestling to try and get the other stuff. The wrestling has the other stuff, but it should not be the other stuff.
And it often is not.
But yeah, this is an era where you just get a lot of people a lot of people who just want to produce the same wrestling that happened in the 90s, which is wrestling that was produced to not be wrestling because people hate wrestling. And there's still a little bit of that here. Like, I think this team probably does broadly like wrestling, but they are still largely producing wrestling with the mentality that was chasing an older audience. And like, there's stuff on these shows that, like, the Steiner Joe stuff is like the most pro wrestling stuff you can get. It's two big badass guys staring each other down, constantly brawling, and then they fight and they shit talk each other. One calls the other guy fat, the other says your reputation isn't shit to me, I'm gonna kill you. And that's wrestling. Like, that is the purest, rawest distillation of wrestling you can get. And then you get a lot of like James Gang Team 3D stuff, which is, I guess they're trying to do wrestling, but it's bad.
Yeah, like, I don't think there was much this month that was, like, the other side of the coin. A lot of it was just wrestling for wrestling. And, like, wrestling, like, TV for wrestling can be good, too, because, like, Team 3D Funeral, that is a straight-up 90s, like, we are booking wrestling as a TV show skit. And that can be fine, but like, it's just gotta, I've always said, it's gotta exist in universe, and it's gotta actually be charming and funny, which is very hard for wrestling to do, because a lot of people who write wrestling don't write it to actually be funny or charming.
Yeah, a lot of bad comedy writers in the history of professional wrestling. Because, like, I think about, like, the Joe and Hook stuff. It's like, that feels organic, it feels human, and it's quite funny.
Can I be real with you?
You don't like it?
I'm fucking sick of it.
Already? They've only done, like, 2 of them.
They've done 3, and I was, as soon as they did the second one, I was like, ugh.
Oh, it is, like, that is, it's a classic AEW thing as well. It's like, when the second, and I guess it's the thing you should want them to do, in that, like, the second, like, something people enjoy happens, they do it over and over again.
Yeah.
But also, they do run things into the ground about as fast as WWE have ever done.
I was like, I rolled my eyes so hard. I was like, okay, it was cool the first time. You have to expand, not just do the same joke again.
I did quite enjoy the Doom Time bit on Dynamite.
Yeah, that's fun. But like, I don't know. I don't need them talking every time. Give me something else. Just expand the bit. Expand it.
No, you'll get the brochachos, which is the same bit over and over and over again until you want to claw your eyes out.
I already want to claw my eyes out.
So yeah, that's our takeaway from 4 years of TNA. Dog shit until it's not.
Dog shit? Well, you know, sometimes you'll find a gold coin in your dog shit.
And sometimes the dog shit is funny.
It's true. Sometimes someone steps on it and you laugh.
Yes, that's true. Once you are not touching the dog shit yourself, it's fine. I guess we are touching the dog shit ourselves quite a lot. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Are we the ones stepping in the dog shit and everyone's laughing at us?
Wait a minute.
Has this what we've been doing for 4 years of TNA?
Oh, God.
So that takes us to the news. After 6 weeks, I promise I will stop doing this once Vince Russo shows up.
There's not a ton of news, by the way.
Oh, I finished reading the PW Torch, and there was like 2 news headlines. I was like, that's going to be a short session for the news.
Yeah, we're getting an idea of what we'll be in 25 years when we're doing 2024 news.
Well, 2024 has been quite an eventful year, but like 23, you'd be like, there's nothing.
Oh my God, we'll just review the shows?
Yeah, at least the Observer had a decent amount of news, at least. But yeah, when I finished the Torch second part, I was like, oh God, there's nothing this month. But there is a little bit. I am still going to shout at about ratings, though. I promise I will stop once Russo shows up. But I want to conclusively prove that there was fucking no reason to bring back Vince Russo. And it's all your fault, you idiots.
This is our video essay citing our sources to show that the idea of bringing Vince Russo back was, in fact, terrible and dumb and stupid.
After 6 weeks in the Thursday night time slot, Impact is averaging a 1.0 rating and 1.1 million viewers. It is 23% above its Saturday night ratings average. After 9 weeks, it was 1.0 and 1.2 million viewers, so growing over the month of June. There is so many Observer stories, and I don't include all of them because, again, I hate ratings and I hate breaking down ratings. I think it's mundane and boring and dopey bullshit that distracts from actually talking about wrestling as an artistic form, and instead we're just like, oh, ratings, fuck off. But this month, there is a bunch of, like, Dave is like, oh, this did the best quarter it's ever done. This is the best rating in the history. Like, May 18th did a 1.12, which is the best rating in the history of the show, beating the 1.08, including the debut of Sting on Impact. Also had one of the stronger patterns of losing less viewers than usual, I guess. It still lost viewers. And the Christian opening segment did a 1.31, the best quarter in the history of the television show.
That sounds like a bunch of good rating talk.
Yeah, it's a bunch of consistently, this show is doing better than it has ever done.
It's time to fucking ruin it.
And this is, again, it drives me crazy. It really does. And it's just like, oh, TNA needs to be fixed. They dropped the ball with Samoa Joe after he won the match at Sacrifice. It's like, would you shut the fuck up? I agree. They should have went with Joe earlier and faster. This is the year he should have won the belt. But also, like, Vince Russo came back and you did that. You did that. Nobody else. The June 15th episode aired an hour later instead of 11, and it aired at 12 due to an Ultimate Fighter double bill. There is, we'll talk about it a little more in a second because Dave outlines what the new lead-in for Impact is, but there is like some, and I think it is reasonable concern. It's fun to talk about because there's a lot of talk about the Dynamite lead-in this week because it moved from Big Bang Theory to Black Panther. But the Impact lead-in at the moment is Ultimate Fighter, and Ultimate Fighter is doing really well, and this is the last week of the season of the Ultimate Fighter, so the first Impact of the July pay-per-view cycle will be the first Impact without Ultimate Fighter as the lead-in. So there is a lot of talk about, how will it do without Ultimate Fighter as the lead-in? Will it lead to a drop in ratings? They assume it will, and we'll see, will that play out that way? How do you feel about Black Panther versus the Big Bang Theory as the AEW Dynamite lead-in?
I don't know, there's nothing, I'm actually kind of somewhat earnestly doing this, there's nothing about the show that screams this is like why a show should do really badly. I feel like it's just like one of those weird 1 week things that happens every now and again where like ratings just everything does kind of shitty, no one watches TV on that day,
and then it's back to a 0.24 and 750,000 again next week.
I think it's all gonna like sort of just be exactly what it is next week, and it's just one of those weird things that occasionally happens with ratings where people just don't tune in for whatever reason.
No, AEW's dead.
Well, AEW's been dead for like a year and a half now.
Kendrick Lamar has killed it.
Good.
Should get into bed with Drake.
Well,
that's a bad expression.
I was going to say AEW is still a young company, I guess.
Liam, do you remember what our opening story was last month?
No. Not at all. That was like 6 weeks ago.
Do you remember how we were talking about Lex Luger, Buff Bagwell, and Rick Steiner coming in caused their locker room morale to be lower than it's ever been?
I do remember that. I remember everyone was really upset and pissed and crying and whining.
Note this month, the locker room atmosphere continues to be really positive in TNA.
Okay.
But the people are frustrated with their character development, apparently, but blah.
So, I mean, that sounds like every wrestling company, there's never going to be a wrestling company where everyone's just happy and everything's going well. Everyone wants to be up the card, everyone wants to be champion, everyone wants to be on TV more. It's the nature of the beast. We need to learn that wrestling is just an industry where a lot of the time there's going to be people who are frustrated with what's happening, and that doesn't mean that the sky is falling on these companies. It just means that people want to be booked more and do more meaningful things because that is what you want in this industry.
Because it's what happens often is like Fightful will publish a report being like, oh, morale's low right now, and then PW Torch will be like, actually somebody else said it's doing pretty well, and like some people are like, oh, one's correcting the other, and it's like, no, both are true.
Yeah, one person is booked on ROH and occasionally a Rampage. The other person has a regular Dynamite spot.
One will be much happier than the other. Morale from the perspective of one will be much higher than the other.
Yeah.
So the reason, I wouldn't say don't never believe, morale stories. I wouldn't go that far, but also like it's one or two people's perspective. It is not like the entire company. That it is simply the case that Sean Ross Sapp can't survey an entire company. He's like, no, I spoke actually to all 150 members of the AEW roster, and morale is down. It's down like 4% from last month on my morale index.
Yeah, exactly. I have a survey monkey every week. I send it through. Everyone puts a 1 to 10 how they're feeling morale-wise.
If anyone has a morale index, it's probably Brandon Thurston, really.
Yeah.
So as said, TNA will have a new lead-in starting in July. The show is called Raising the Roof, a comedy starring Michael Roof Jr. and his prank-pulling, beer-swilling backwoods family in Dunedin, Florida, who then all move to Hollywood as he goes in search of acting roles, and they have to adjust to life in Southern California.
Is it? It's like a sitcom?
I believe so, yes. Dave mentions it's like a modernized version of the Beverly Hillbillies is what they're going for.
I thought it was like a reality.
Maybe it is.
It is a reality show.
But so it is as scripted as a regular show, but
Called Raising the Roofs.
oh, Dave got the name wrong.
I don't know who Michael Roof.
Neither do I.
Featured review is a 10 out of 10.
It's the best show of all time, apparently.
Michael Roofs was apparently in Triple X and Black Hawk Down.
I've seen Triple X. I don't remember him or who he is.
His IMDb doesn't have a picture. So that's... He also did the Dukes of Hazzard.
This is another instance, like that poker show we were talking about that I already don't remember the name of, where I don't think a person on Earth remembers Raising the Roofs on Spy TV.
A quick RIP to our man Michael Roof.
If you are a listener and you remember Raising the Roofs, starring Michael Roof Jr. on Spike TV,
And if you're a big fan,
if you're like, I fucking love that show, let us know. If you're like one of the 3 people on Earth that remember and loved that show, go for it. Let us know in Discord, Twitter, or whatever. Dave mentioned stars of the new Beverly Hillbillies-like show that will be the lead-in for Impact starting in a few weeks. We're in the front row of the tapings, which were right after Slammiversary. Spike brought them to the taping because they wanted to use them to get the new show rolling. They were described as
again,
fat rednecks in
for,
the front
for
row,
an
always
for an
taking their shirts
industry,
off.
for a company or a promotion or a TV show that isn't doing well, the network is going, we should use them to make the other show stronger.
Yeah, they're like, we would like to launch this new show, and we are putting the stars of the new show in the front row.
But, this show's doing so badly, so poorly.
Everybody hates TNA. Everybody should cancel TNA. They should make everyone different and book the show wrong.
Very good.
It's basically what I hear every time they're like, blah, 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 blah.
Is that what they sound like?
Exactly what they sound like. I think that's what BG James sounds like. I've just convinced myself. In the same way I've convinced myself all the old Asylum news was disco.
Yeah.
I've convinced myself all the new stuff now is BG James. Or maybe it's just always been BG James. He's been there the whole time.
He does seem whiny enough.
TNA created a t-shirt for Alex Shelley that he didn't like and wouldn't wear to the ring. Dutch Mantel told him to, and then Jarrett told him to, so he had to.
What shirt was it?
This is the first month, if you pay attention, that you will see the iconic, classic, orange Paparazzi Productions t-shirt.
Does he hate the Paparazzi Productions shirt?
I think Alex Shelley hates the Paparazzi Productions shirt.
Well, I'm sorry, he's wrong.
Because he does come out with it. I'm not sure, is it like the Impact match against Jay Lethal or later in the month? But he does come out wearing it, and he does like tear it off. And I'm like, is that a symbol of like defiance? Are you like, fuck your shirt? But also, it's the fucking like best wrestling t-shirt. It is an all-timer pro wrestling shirt that is remembered to this day.
I want to bootleg it.
Apparently Alex Shelley, at least at first, maybe he's changed his tune in it, maybe he came around on it, but at least at first, he did not like the Paparazzi Productions shirt.
Well, he's wrong.
Or maybe there was another shirt and he's like, get rid of that, I want an orange one.
We will see. We'll have to... Someone look at the footage.
But yeah, Paparazzi Productions shirt does debut this month. It is on TV this month, so...
Well, that's the only one we saw him wear this month.
Yeah, so you gotta put 2 and 2 together and say, I don't think Alex Shelley liked that shirt at first.
Well, it's the I Spy one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We could do it.
God damn it, Alex.
There's no TNA logo on there.
Paul Heyman on TNA, because ECW launches this month, I believe.
Shut up. This motherfucker.
So ECW launches on Sci-Fi this month, and there's a bunch of talk. Obviously, Paul Heyman is quote-unquote leading it, but Vince is really leading it. But Paul Heyman, he did a bunch of media rounds, and of course they asked him about TNA, and here's what he had to say about TNA. I don't think TNA is even a consideration. I don't think TNA is even a consideration to anyone in this industry. I wish that they were, but the problem with TNA is they never branded themselves.
He's not wrong there.
They took a bunch of guys, whether they had legitimate gripes in WWE, it doesn't matter. They took a bunch of guys who came on TNA, and instead of saying, this is my opportunity to brand TNA, this is my opportunity to create a new style, all they would say is, I've been held back. I wasn't given an opportunity. I didn't get this. I didn't get that. And now I'm going to have it. You know, nobody cares if you've been held back. People want to be entertained.
I feel like that hasn't been a massive part of TNA's identity at this point.
No.
Like, there's definitely been a little of it, but like I don't feel like it's been a giant part.
And like some people will do it. No. Some people will do it in like their first promo.
Yeah, like they'll do a little, but it's not like it's a constant thing, which again it will become.
It's not like Rhino's character now is I was held back in WWE.
No,
he's just doing a mid-card program with Bobby Roode.
Yeah.
And like Christian maybe does a little bit more of it. Maybe he's making more of a direct critique of Christian here.
Yeah.
But also, like, Christian's not really that on the whole.
No.
back to Heyman. It's like if Sylvester Stallone doing a Rocky movie and saying, I wanted it to be a different script. Who cares? Screw you. Entertain me. Which I feel like ECW did a bunch of this shit as well, by the way.
They made a lot of it was them mocking the other companies, was it?
What they do in TNA is sit there and moan about their WWE experiences instead of selling you on the TNA experience. Another thing they did in TNA wrong, in my opinion, is they didn't brand their new stars to be stars. They didn't make Samoa Joe their star. They didn't make Abyss their lead star. They should have taken these guys and branded them so that they are TNA stars. Kurt Angle is not going to be the same Kurt Angle in ECW that he was in WWE.
What a name to play out the fucking hat.
I do love that in his direct point, it's like, TNA, they didn't make their own new stars. ECW, Kurt Angle. For both the reason that he goes to TNA in like 4 months, and also Kurt Angle in TNA was so much better than Kurt Angle in ECW.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle in ECW is the same as Kurt Angle in fucking SmackDown. Get over yourself, Paul. They're going to be ECW branded stars, not WWE retreads, and moaning about the fact that Vince McMahon didn't give them the opportunity they felt they deserved. So there you go. That's Heyman's current thoughts on TNA, in which there, as always, is a kernel of truth buried in a pile of hypocrisy.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Heyman just being a WWE shill is such a disappointing arc for that man's career.
Yeah.
And, like, fair enough, he's made a fuckload of money.
Yeah.
So who am I to say that this man who has attached himself to the top act in this company for 20 years now is wrong, and I am better and smarter than Paul Heyman, because he attached himself to Brock and he attached himself to Roman and he made a fuckload of money. So good on him. And Punk, yes. All of the guys. But God,
he's a grifter, but he's just like grifter in a different way.
Yeah, and like it's the same thing. It's like he didn't mean it when he was selling you that bullshit in the 90s, that counterculture, we're going to take down WWE. He was grifting you then as much as he is now. It's just a different grift now.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, like, a grifter's gonna grift.
And it is pro wrestling. It is an industry of grifters.
It is an industry built on grifting.
It is the foundational core. They are all carnies. Jeff Jarrett says that Paul Heyman needs to worry about what he has on his hands in WWE and not worry about TNA's identity.
Fucking owned.
He's got a lot in his hands right now, Jarrett told Between the Ropes Radio. Vince McMahon is running ECW. He's going to run the show up there. Vince is very successful. He's going to make ECW successful in spite of Paul, says Jeff Jarrett.
Okay, well, you were almost there.
He is being a little bitter, like, fuck you, Vince is going to turn ECW into the success, you could never make it. And Vince didn't.
Yeah, you were almost there. You almost had the right own when you could have just said, you're not even running the show.
Yeah, you're Vince's bitch. Get over yourself.
But no, he had to turn it into sucking off Vince McMahon. Because everyone in this industry has to suck off Vince McMahon constantly.
And Paul will be gone from ECW within 6 months.
And don't worry, any day now he's going to show up on TNA and save the company.
I can't wait to get to that in 2010. So, if you remember, moments ago, gave out about Samoa Joe not being the star of TNA. Early indications are the Best of Samoa Joe DVD is off to the fastest start in the sales of any DVD in the company to date, which speaks volumes, since that would mean they've somewhat created a star, since they produced DVDs on established names like Raven, Jeff Hardy, as well as the Final Resolution DVD that just came out with Sting's Return, and Joe's DVD is outperforming all of them.
Yeah, well, probably helps, right, that he comes from a background where people bought DVDs to see him.
Yeah.
His fan base is a fan base that buys DVD.
Especially when you think about, like, the Spike audience, which, like, Joe has been around for most of the Spike era, but, like, the Unbreakable match is pre-Spike. So if you, like, started watching TNA on Spike, and you see this Samoa Joe guy, and you hear about this Samoa Joe guy, and you hear about this legendary Samoa Joe match, but you didn't watch it because it was on pay-per-view the month before TNA started on Spike, you'd be like, let me get that DVD. I want to see that match. TNA is under the impression it's better than 50% it can keep Rhino. His recent losses were not the idea of jobbing him out for an inevitable leaving, as some have speculated. WWE is pursuing him for ECW. He's in a good position with his contract coming due in July. There are expected to be negotiations with TNA this week, and the company is hopeful they will sign him before he leaves TV.
Well, that's fun. I never knew that they were trying to get him for the ECW relaunch.
Yeah, so presumably Rhino only signed a 1-year deal when he joined last year. So his deal is up in July. And yeah, for the most part, apparently everyone's locked down long term. So like if they wanted Team 3D, if they wanted Raven, if they wanted Shane Douglas, all those guys are signed. Whereas Rhino, his deal was up, so he was in a position of leverage. By all accounts, by the end of the month, he is either signed his new contract or agreed to his new contract. Obviously, we know he doesn't. So he had agreed to his longer term contract with TNA and doesn't leave for ECW. But yeah, I guess it would make sense that you would look at Rhino. He's still in his prime, still a good worker, that has a name value, has an attachment to ECW, but it won't break the bank. So it would probably make sense why you'd look at bringing him back for ECW.
Exactly.
And fuck you, Paul. You couldn't even get Rhino.
Yeah, make new stars with that, bitch.
They're trying to change everyone over, or at least the key people, from per-show contracts to guaranteed contracts. The top guys are now getting guaranteed money per week. The number isn't big, and Dave is guessing most of the names are between $1,000 and $1,500 per week, with a few of the top guys above that.
I'll take $1,500 a week.
I would happily take $1,500 a week. The lower rank guys are still in the $300 to $500 per show range and don't get paid when they don't appear on TV. One of the reasons you'll see a lot of four-ways on TV is simply to get some of the guys a payday and a little TV exposure. The guys on guaranteed deals are then being booked out to local promoters, very similar to how Mexico operates. If TNA books one of its top guys, say for $1,000 a shot, then the wrestler gets a percentage of that and the office gets a percentage. Dave doesn't know the percentage, but the office gets more than half. The wrestler gets his guarantee.
I have a problem with that if the wrestler gets his guarantee and he gets a little bonus for when he gets booked out.
Yeah, so say if you're getting $1,000 a month, and if you get booked out, you get another $400.
Grand a week.
Fine. Or $1,000 a week, yeah. $1,000 a month wouldn't be very much at all.
No. Yeah, I think that's fine.
The wrestlers can still book outside dates on their own, but it's harder because the contract gives TNA first dibs on house shows. For example, if Chris Sabin wanted to work Ring of Honor, it would be hard to do so because anytime TNA booked him for a show, their show would take priority. In the case of ROH, they do have Christopher Daniels and Samoa Joe's dates booked through the end of the year through TNA, so there won't be any problems there unless another snowstorm occurs, says Dave.
Well, you cheeky bugger.
This does seem like the fairest case of the contracts they've been trying to come up with for like 3 years now.
Yeah, they're trying to find the happy medium.
Because there's the ones where I don't think they paid a guarantee and still wanted to control bookings, which is like, fuck you. Whereas here, it's like, you get a guarantee, you get a cut of your bookings, and on dates you're not working TNA, you can still take bookings on your own, but we get first hit. All seems pretty fair.
Yeah.
TNA continued their house show success. The group, which was promoted by Hermie Sadler, still promoting the house shows, drew a sellout of 1,100 fans at the ECW Arena on June 9th, my birthday, in a show that was never once mentioned on TV, says Dave, even though technically they had angles from it on TV, but I guess they never promoted the show on TV.
Yeah.
So Team 3D did a promo from the building that aired on TV, and then the angle in the James Gang, the throwing the chairs in the ring thing, also aired on TV.
Do you think that was part of them, like they wanted to do the chair throwing thing, but they wanted to be legally not liable for anything that could go down, so they're like, just do it on the Hermie Sadler show.
Yeah, if a fan gets hit by a chair, it's Hermie that's liable, not us.
Yeah.
I hope they're that cynical. They're like, we want to do this really cool thing, but we don't want to get sued, so Hermie, how you feeling?
And let's not tell it.
Regarding wrestling at the former ECW Arena last weekend, one TNA wrestler says it was a refreshing change. It was a lot of fun, says the wrestler. It blew me away. Maybe it will give TNA management the idea they can run there regularly. The crowd at the ECW Arena was said to be a mix of hardcore regulars who might attend Ring of Honor and CCW events and casual fans who saw TNA on Spike and decided to find this building so they could see TNA stars. Another TNA wrestler described the crowds at Orlando's TNA Asylum like a church crowd where everyone knows where they sit. They're used to us and they've seen everything. They're numb to things that the ECW crowd went nuts for. It would be a good place for a pay-per-view, I think.
Yeah, I think the mix should be like, we do TV, one pay-per-view, then TV again, and then we go somewhere else for the second pay-per-view. Because I think you still need to give the Impact Zone big shows. You can't just give them the shit. You do need to give them stuff to look forward to as well. But like, every couple months going out and doing a pay-per-view on the road, I don't think is a bad idea.
Yeah, like the crowds were hotter in the Impact Zone last year, and they can still be quite hot. Like if you watch the James Gang against Team 3D, they're hotter for that than they have any right to be on the pay-per-view. It does open the pay-per-view. But the crowds aren't as hot as they were, but also the shows probably aren't as good as they were either. So that might be a fair exchange. The crowd is only as good as the shows.
Yeah, I think the crowd will always follow the show. People give way too much credit to like, ooh, they've seen everything, but it's like if you have good wrestling shows, the crowd will respond to the good wrestling.
People, and they still do it today when like, oh, that's a good AEW crowd, a bad AEW crowd, and like people tend to treat the crowds like they're like this externality. They're completely detached from like the quality of the product, and you get a hot crowd in one city and a bad crowd in the other, and who knows why? It's just the thing that happens, where it's nearly always in direct proportion to how hot is your product, how good is your show. If your product is cold, even a good show might get a bad crowd.
Yeah.
If your product is hot, even a bad show might get a great crowd. So it goes back to like, are you hot? Do people care?
Much like everything in life.
I'm hot, right, Liam?
Do people care?
Wait a minute, you didn't know. Jushin Liger came back from TNA saying that he'd like for the relationship with TNA to continue. He said the guy he was most impressed with was AJ Styles, who he'd like to bring to New Japan. Liger also threw out the first pitch at the Lot Orions game on May 20th in Chiba. Not relevant to TNA, but it does feed into our little baseball corner.
Oh, great. Let me just lay back here and fall asleep.
Baseball Today on the 20th of May had a short segment. Had a short segment on AJ Pierzynski.
Honk shoe. Me.
Had a short segment on
shoe.
God damn it. Had a short segment on AJ Pierzynski and the TNA X Division title belt that he wears around. The segment mentioned AJ Styles as the real X Division champion. He's not. However, the same day on SportsCenter, when Pierzynski was mentioned as he got punched in the White Sox club's brawl on their May 20th game, it was brought up that he had WWE experience during off-season, which he also does not.
Really rude.
This is the downside of, like, particularly the smaller company chasing all the press attention.
Yeah. I feel like that's one thing AEW's been good at, is controlling their PR to be like, you will talk about us and our name, you will not get us confused.
Yeah, but then like 2 months later, they're still just WWE, you know?
I think they've done a pretty good job for the most part. I haven't seen a lot of like miscategorization occasionally, but like I feel like they've done a good job of making themselves distinguished, and like their PR team obviously is just that. But like, yeah,
there was a recent instance where somebody was called a WWE wrestler. I can't remember what it was, and it's on the tip of my brain. I think it was like a TMZ story. It was still like WWE wrestler, but yeah. As a general rule, you are right.
They're pretty good.
Terry Taylor was officially named Director of Talent Relations. He's been kind of the unofficial person in that slot all along. His role is to be in charge of contract negotiations and signing new talent. He's going to be working full-time in Nashville and will probably move from Atlanta. It's considered a step upward for Taylor, and being in Nashville full-time will likely make him more powerful when it comes to direction. So Terry Taylor, signing people.
Consolidating power.
He's taking over the company. Over Slammiversary weekend, all the talent was given blood tests for HIV and hepatitis. There was wording when announcing the tests in big letters, "This is not a drug test." They wanted to test everyone since they do a lot of blood in matches, and there may be some states they're going to where testing would be required. But it is very fun. It's like, this is for your own safety. We want to see, does anyone have HIV and hepatitis?
Please don't put other people's blood in the test.
Yeah, don't fake the blood test. It is actually very important. It's not a drug test. We swear. Maybe they should do drug tests.
Well, yeah, but like, what are they going to do? They're going to find out people are on drugs, and then they're going to be like, alright.
Scott Steiner, we have a problem with you, sir.
Scott Steiner, I'm beginning to think you might be on something.
Your muscles don't seem natural, sir.
How dare you. Want to say that to his face?
No, that was always his thing. It's like, apparently in WWE, when they were like, we would like to drug test Scott Steiner, he was always like, get Triple H in the room with me at the same time and I'll do it. And then they never did it.
I mean, it's fair.
Don't expect Johnny Fairplay back. There was a piece in USA Today about him being drunk and making an ass of himself at some sort of get-together. He was quoted in the story as saying that he got paid $150,000 for 1 year and was only used 4 times in TNA. Then they renewed him for a second year at $150,000 and never used him once. Dave can't vouch for the figures or the number of dates, but the basis of what he said is accurate. He then thanked the company while making fun of them at the same time.
I'll do 4 appearances in 2 years for $300,000.
That is better than the $1,500 a week. It's funny to think about how Johnny Fairplay at this point in TNA history is probably like a top 5 earner in the history of TNA.
Yeah.
There's like probably Jarrett's gotten more, I'd say. Sting is obviously on a bigger contract. I'd imagine Christian is on a bigger contract, and then probably Johnny Fairplay.
Yeah. But had they made that money yet?
No, so maybe he's probably still ahead. Well, Sting has probably made 150 grand at this point, right? He's 6
But
months
has he
in.
made 300?
Has he made three? He's on this. I think he's on like $500,000 a year. So
no.
we're 6 months in, so he should have made about half of that. So no, he hasn't made as much money as Johnny Fairplay, probably.
So Johnny Fairplay might be the highest grossing earner.
Yeah. And our final note: Dixie Carter gave birth. God.
Dixie Carter gave birth to her second kid.
Yeah, on June 1st. So congratulations to Dixie.
Happy belated birthday to Dixie Carter's second child.
Tanner, I believe.
Of course, it's Tanner.
Who turned 18 recently, so fair play to him.
Who hosts a podcast that you were a guest on.
Yeah, he's the host of All You Can Hear. The son of Dixie Carter.
Spread the law, it's true.
That's the news.
Whoa, I love the news.
So, it's been 12 hours since we recorded the news, and I've been thinking the entire time about that Paul Heyman quote.
Okay, yeah.
Because Liam took a break overnight. We often do that. We do the news separately from Broad Topics sometimes. And I was like, that whole Steve Austin character, when he left WCW, was all about him going on ECW TV and being like, Eric Bischoff's a cunt, and that was terrible.
They didn't let me be a star because they were too busy focusing on the old guys.
And then fucking Paul Heyman turns around and is like, oh, TNA do that too often. Ugh, what a fucking bitch. Bootlicking bitch.
I was thinking about, like, the fact that, Stone Cold had that gimmick. Yes, like, last night when we were talking about it, I was just like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like they did that stuff a lot.
Yeah, because I threw it out that, like, oh, they did that stuff too. But then I was like, fucking, they brag so much about the Steve Austin presentation in ECW, even though he was only there for like 6 weeks, and it was all this shit. Fuck you.
Yeah. Brian Pillman and the pencil.
Yeah, fucking, it's all like that. You counterculture piece of shit, and then being like, oh, WWE is good, I'm gonna lick their boots. And then, like, Vince is out, and then he bows to the altar of Triple H as well, the sycophantic piece of crap.
Didn't he make, like, his WWE Hall of Fame induction all about Triple H?
He did. He's such a politicking, bootlicking, hollow shell of a carny.
The words of Garrett Kidney.
I've been getting mad at Paul Heyman all day.
That's all you've been able to think about.
I could have just not addressed it. We could have just moved seamlessly into the broad topics, but no, I've been stewing. Fucking Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
All right, that does take us to the broad topics. I guess we'll start because it does impact the main event first, so we should probably talk about it before we talk about the main event. That is the new face of TNA management arriving in TNA.
The new face of professional wrestling.
Yes, the new face of professional wrestling management.
Of course.
That's what they call every TEW killer.
The TW killer.
Yeah, every professional wrestling app. All the ones that I don't remember the names, like Pro Wrestling Booking Sim or whatever. That is the new face of professional wrestling management.
I guess that makes sense. I think the TW killer is just them not making another one.
That is the biggest killer. But they always say they're not making another one, and then they always make another one.
Well, when was the last one?
2020, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we're getting a little long in the tooth.
It would be the longest gap, I think, between them, but also it's a cash
normally
cow,
3.
so you might as well.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
June 1st Impact. Larry Zbyszko has a pre-tape. We'll talk about that later. But Slick Johnson walks in at the end of it and says the new face of TNA management isn't going to wait until Slammiversary. He may even be here tonight, and he doesn't even use a comb-over, which does offend Larry Z.
Also, like, I guess technically true.
That he doesn't use a comb-over?
Yeah. Like, he doesn't have hair, but, like...
Yeah.
It's not a comb-over.
Stop taking shots at poor Larry's hair. He's doing his best.
I like the bit with the fact that everyone is still bald.
Yeah, I guess
it's like, yeah, he's got hair. It's like, no, he's bald too. And obviously, so is Slick Johnson.
Everyone's bald. Bald men everywhere. Well, Cornette has hair.
Yeah, but he's still, like, balding.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just an interesting choice, I guess. I don't know if they were trying to, like, allude to someone else. Someone famous for hair.
No, it's just to set up Larry Zbyszko eventually losing his hair, which is still the plan. So they're taking shots at Larry's hair because he will be getting hair restoration surgery. So
I guess that makes sense.
There has been 2 months of subtle teases poking fun at poor Larry's haircut.
Yes, I would definitely describe them as subtle.
The following week, the new face of TNA management makes the Steiner Joe match, which does not please Larry. I like Larry in that segment being like, you can't make matches straight away. You have to think about it. Yeah.
It's also very on brand for the Larry Zbyszko character.
He's just like, I can't just make a match. What kind of absurd talk is that I could just make a match? A match can just happen.
I need to, like, ruminate on it. Discern if it's really what is needed.
Yeah, maybe I want to book Samoa Joe against Jarrell Clark instead. Maybe that's a better match.
Yeah.
Maybe I have these long-term booking plans in my TEW game that will eventually lead somewhere else. You can't rush these things.
Exactly.
And then go home episode of Impact. Once again, Slick is like, the new face of TNA Management is here tonight, and he wants to see Larry Z. And then the final segment before we go off the air, Larry Z is backstage. He looks into a car, and he's like, my God. And then we go off the air.
And he's like, oh.
Who could it possibly be?
He does a big reaction.
Good big reaction, to be fair.
He like throws his hands on his head. And he's like, oh, no.
He does seem stunned at who it could possibly be. Well, actually, who it is. It's in front of him. Apparently, it was. This is a throwback to the sacrifice segment, because there's not a bunch of Raven Larry stuff this month. In fact, there's pretty much none. But it was Jeff Jarrett's suggestion that Larry Zbyszko no longer play chicken shit heel manager and play wrestler in his feud with Raven at this point. That is why he was so aggressive instead of running away in the latest confrontation back at Sacrifice. Which I guess makes sense if you want to actually set that up as a match. But I guess, like, do you? Isn't the idea that you just see Raven kill Larry Z?
Yeah. I mean, again, like, I know it depends what the end goal is, but, like, do you want to do the match? I guess.
Like, do you want that to be an actual match? Surely, like, the hook of that should be Larry's not a tough guy. Larry's just going to get killed.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense for him to be, like, a wrestler going 50-50 with Raven.
Maybe, like, Jeff Jarrett hates Raven, too. It's actually, the management is still against Raven, but they'll let him have Larry Z.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It's a weird one.
So, at the pay-per-view, Mike Tenay is in the ring. He introduces the new face of TNA Management. It is Jim Cornette.
Woo!
Cornette got surgery earlier that week. He's been getting surgery on his knees a couple times over the month, I think. And there's a moment during his entrance, he comes out holding a cane, and he swings his cane around in his hand. And I watched this a couple of times to make sure, but I'm pretty sure he accidentally threw it off to the side. I don't think he was doing, like, I don't need a stinking cane bit, even though he said that when he got in the ring. I really do think he accidentally threw it.
Yeah.
And it's very funny to watch him, like, slowly hobble down the ramp. And, like, if you ever had bad knees, and Liam, I think you can attest to this, Hill's very bad for bad knees.
Yeah, no, doesn't do well.
Inclines and declines and bad knees do not go well together.
It's very funny that, like, that he does, like, the whole, okay, it is objectively funny that he throws the cane when he clearly needs it, and then goes, I don't need a cane. But, like, it is good improving, I guess, to be like, yes, I don't need a cane. That's what I was doing. I was doing that bit.
Yeah, he's owned it. It's like, it's definitely on purpose. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So Cornette grabs a microphone and he cuts a promo. He
does.
This came right after the AMW Styles and Daniels match, so he's like, that's what tag team wrestling should look like, and I know a thing or two about tag team wrestling. Said TNA is the new face of professional wrestling and he's sick and tired of the old one. Paul Heyman, furious at these shots, does the it wouldn't last 4 weeks thing, so he is right in line with TNA lore.
Stolen valor, to be honest, though.
Yeah, you only showed up. You can't do the we wouldn't last 6 weeks, especially because you show up and you're like, oh, all these cronies are trying to kill TNA, but I'm here to be fair and decent.
And it's like, but they lasted 6 weeks, 6 months, 4 years.
Larry Z's watching backstage and he seems stressed.
As it would be.
His job is being replaced.
Well, I guess stick around. So I guess, is his job being replaced, or are they bringing in, like, an overseer?
Yeah, they're bumping him down a layer. There's middle management being introduced, I guess.
Yeah.
Larry should be around, like, making decisions on Explosion.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, guys, I booked Matt Bentley exclusively now.
Sounds like you booking.
I love Matt Bentley. My favorite wrestler. It says the same old cronies have been on the take from TNA and holding the company back, but Cornette's here to change that. He may not be politically correct, but he gets results.
He certainly is not politically correct.
And becomes less politically correct over time.
It's crazy how that happens. Someone who makes that a defining part of their personality.
There's guys that he expects will hit home runs, and then there's guys who are coasting on reputation who need to step up or leave. They cut to LAX there as well.
I guess they're referring to Conan.
Yeah, I guess that the whole thing we'll talk about when we're talking about their story, but they're on work stoppage at the moment.
Yeah.
Jim Cornette anti-union is what we're learning immediately.
So we just find a... What month are we?
June 2006.
Well, I guess we are 1 month off the Homicide Jim Cornette ROH feud.
So he still just hates Homicide across companies?
Yeah, that could be part of it. Jim Cornette seems like the kind of pervert to like incorporate that.
He does. It's been like sickos, but here it is because they are refusing to work because they have been mistreated in the workplace.
I'm gonna keep an eye out on that. I want to see if Cornette like makes any illusions.
Yeah, the idea that he would make like concessions. It's like, you have been abused in the workplace.
No, the other way around. He's like, "Fuck you, Homicide, you bitch."
Oh yeah, to call back to Ring of Honor.
Yeah, because it's like something that's going on as it's going on here.
So he has 3 criteria for people he wants on his roster. He wants people who will sell pay-per-views, people who will draw ratings, and people who will have good matches. And if you can't do that and you're out, then he's like, try me, because you'll be hitting the back door and you ain't seen nothing yet.
So it's like, you really had a problem with this sentence, or this part of the promo. I didn't. I think it's like completely within universe for a person who is in charge of the pro wrestling company to be like, I want to sell pay-per-views, I want to have good ratings, and I want to have good matches. You, well, like, it takes you out. It's too close to like work shooting shit.
Yeah, because I want my authority figure to be a matchmaker. And like, as I said on the watch along, I do respect the idea that like UFC isn't booked for like the best pure athletes get the most opportunities. That's not how the UFC works. If you're a star, you get more opportunities than if you're not. That's just the fact of life, as Eli Drake might put it. But it's just one of those things that wrestling has become so like terminally irony pilled that one of these things, which in isolation I would be fine with, like the idea is like, yeah, he's running a company, he wants people who make money. That's fine, I guess. But like this, it's just one of those things where wrestling has become so many layers removed from just like men fight for opportunities to fight for bigger things, that when you introduce this, I'm just like, guys, can we just have people who want to fight, and then the people who win go up and fight for titles, and the people who lose don't. That's so like, I'd like the babyface truth-telling authority figure to be just like, best wrestlers get best opportunities, no bullshit, no politics. That's what I prefer this to be, as opposed to like, if you can't draw a television rating, I don't want you on my show. Like, I don't care about television rating. And within the universe of the show, I don't care about television rating. And like, you saw the same thing in AEW a lot, where it's like, oh, people talked about whether or not they popped a quarter, or whether or not they drew in the demo that week. And I'm like, I don't care about this. I want you to be cool. I don't want you to be like, look how I'm actually popular, guys. I swear we can pop a rating.
I guess it does make more sense of a statement for like a heel-leaning authority figure, but I don't know, I just didn't have a problem with it. I kind of liked it. I like it makes the outer universe feel in universe in a way that I don't perceive as being like too worked, shooty, irony pilled.
Yeah. I think I understand that. And as I said, in isolation, I don't think I'd have a problem with it. But just like in the way wrestling has skewed since the late 90s, basically since they completely lost the run of themselves toward the death of WCW in particular, where it's just like everything is fourth wall breaking, nothing is real.
You say that as unlike my second monitor, I have Collision and Chris Jericho is wrestling.
Yeah, and Chris Jericho is all of that, you know? He's like, the Jericho Fort. I hate that shit. I hate it. Just be interesting. Be
the
cool.
demo god.
Yeah, it's just all that self-aware meta bullshit. It's just,
I see, that's the thing. I think I dislike it in wrestlers, but for an authority figure, I don't.
Yeah, you are fine with like, I am the man running this business and I need business results.
Yeah, I think that's like within character. But like, you're right, it does come across as like, what is the word I'm looking for? Like low self-esteem.
Yeah.
If you're a wrestler, it feels pandering or whatever. Like you're trying to justify that you're not actually, like, you didn't fail in some aspect.
There is a little bit of desperation to it, isn't there?
That's the word I was looking for, desperation, yeah.
That you're just like, guys, I swear I'm a star. I'm really a star.
Please believe me.
If you have to tell people you're a star, you are in fact not a star.
Yeah.
It is very funny to do this 3 months before Vince Russo comes back.
Yeah. I mean, you're playing into all the things that will eventually actually bring Vince Russo back.
But it's really funny to me, just in general, just the entire Cornette promo. One, because Cornette and Vince Russo hate each other. That's one layer of it.
What? Since when?
But also to send Cornette out there to be like, no more cronies, no more bullshit, no more old guys getting chances just because they're old guys. We want you to earn your spot. This is going to be a fair and decently run company. And in 3 months, I'm going to have to say all this while Vince Russo is writing the things I say.
And it's going to go well. I'm sure there won't be any turmoil around it. And it won't stink of condensation. Condensation, yes.
Yes,
condescension?
Condescension, yes.
I just woke up.
Yeah, just walk it off. Walk it off.
Let's pretend it didn't happen.
They had a big party thrown by Jeff Jarrett for the 4th year anniversary on June 19th after the tapings, and most people were there, told they were watching Raw, and Cornette cut this, quote-unquote, according to Dave, hilarious promo about the mentality there that the way to get over is show as much male ass as possible. Reports where Cornette showed up very enthusiastic about being there.
It's very funny to be like, let's celebrate ourselves and chuck on some Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, all sit around and watch the June 19th. You know what? I'm going to check what's on
I
that.
was just about to pull it up.
Yeah.
Candice Michelle and Mickie James defeat Maria and Tori Wilson.
You're a better cage matcher than I.
Charlie Haas versus Viscera.
Oh, they all the stars.
Umaga Squash. John Cena defeating Bowles Mahoney.
Of course.
Randy Orton defeating Snitsky.
Yep.
Johnny Nitro and Shelton Benjamin defeating Carlito in a 2-on-1 handicap match. Edge defeating Ric Flair.
I would like to take a moment to point out that there are 7 matches on this episode of Raw. Mm-hmm. The longest of which is 4 minutes.
Yep, the main event 2 minutes.
The match times 1:28, 2:23, 1:06, 4 minutes for Cena Balls Mahoney. That's a relatively 60-minute Broadway for Raw standards. 2:30, 2:50, and 1:55 are your match times for this 2006 episode of Raw.
We were talking about it before. It's totally in that era, the most we do not like what we are than it has ever been.
Yeah, that is the thing. That is the context in which you do have to view TNA through the lens of. It's just by contrast, TNA is this wrestling utopia, you know?
Yeah, you can kind of understand, if that was what they were getting on the other side, this is fucking Ring of Honor, you know? This is a fully fledged pro wrestling show in comparison.
Yeah, we would watch it back and be it's a little still too WWE pilled, it's a little too sports entertainment-y. But then when you look at what's on the other channel, you are well, you know what? They still have this Kick-Ass Joe stuff. I guess that's way better than Raw. We should
be forced to center ourselves and watch a Raw from this era just to be remind ourselves what it is in comparison to.
Yeah, but wait a minute now.
And we come back and we're actually TNA's fucking awesome.
I will take my 4-minute Jay Lethal Alex Shelley TV match any day.
That's longer than anything on a Raw.
Oh, it probably was longer than anything on the Raw. Yeah, I think it did go longer than 4. I think even Sanjay Jarrell Clark went longer than anything on Raw.
So I don't know. Yeah, maybe I will watch a Raw from the era just to provide context. Well, yeah, world context is an important element. It's obviously we can't just be watching Raws and SmackDowns as we're watching all these Impacts as well. That's impossible to keep up with. But it is probably important to have some idea of what North American wrestling television actually looks like.
Yeah, because we are now, even in WWE, in a world where they have long title matches and all that on TV all the time. You know, while Gunther had the Intercontinental title, he would have big, meaningful, very good TV matches, among the only good matches. But there's wrestling on WWE TV all of the time, for the most part.
It teeters into a wrestling show more often than not.
Even taking AEW out of it, which is obviously, you know, those shows are good matches. Even Raw will give you a 15-minute match most weeks.
I'm going to go to this week's Raw.
Might not be a good example, but who knows?
Yeah, the episode where they murdered people.
Yeah, well, no match longer than 4 minutes there too. But then you do go back to this period and you are oh, good. And this is the true dregs of an era. It's between the Attitude Era and then whatever they hit on in the early 2010s, the Shield era, I guess. That those are where they tried to do ruthless aggression. They tried to brand the hell out of this thing and no one cared. So it's very much in the low point of a personality-less, direction-less, but still terrible era of WWE.
Raw this week, 6 minutes, 8 minutes, 8 minutes, 3 minutes, 12 minutes, 16 minutes almost.
Yeah, so you can see even like having 8-minute matches is revolutionary compared to a 2006 Raw.
Yeah, and like the big 16-minute main event.
What was that?
That was the 3-way Money in the Bank qualifier, Jey Uso, Finn Balor, Rey.
Sure.
And
So
last Raw, longest match was 14 minutes, which was Braun, Dragon Lee, and Ray versus Carly Judgment Day. But you also had Drew and Finn going 13. SmackDown, Solo Sikoa, Kevin Owens, 17 minutes. SmackDown this week, longest match 10 minutes.
SmackDown is generally the talkier show of the two.
Yeah, there's always one. But like, still, you're getting long matches on there. Like there's still an 18-minute solo Kevin Owens match last week.
Yeah. So like it's a completely like it really is a completely different world now. Even WWE, whereas go back now to 2006 and it's a desolate landscape. And like Impact this month, I don't think the matches are necessarily always good. In fact, a lot of them are quite boring. But like Impact this month is like you get Jarrett Raven on TV, you get Steiner Sting on TV, you get like these big stars and big matches on TV this month, as opposed to Raw where you're getting Charlie Haas versus Viscera.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, Cornette's here. It's a good promo. It's a big rah-rah speech. He can talk. It's what you expect from Jim Cornette, really.
You can never say that he can't talk.
No, and like really, that's his role. He's in an authority figure role, and he can talk. And he doesn't have the book, thankfully.
Oh, well, I don't know if I'd be opposed to him having the book at this point.
Yeah, in contrast to who will get the book, or at least more of the book coming up, yeah, maybe he should have gotten the book.
I'm sure he fought for it.
So the main event of Slammiversary is, as is tradition for the second year in a row, the King of the Mountain match, as Christian Cage will defend the NWA World Championship against 4 other men in King of the Mountain. So we go to the opening segment of the first Impact of the month, where we have a lot of challengers lining up for Christian Cage's NWA World title. Maybe too many challengers. Maybe we have 8, but we only need 4.
Do you think they should have kept King of the Mountain as Slammiversary every year?
Yeah, like this year's Slammiversary main event is a multi-man elimination match. It's a 6-man multi-man elimination, and as part of me, it's just like, King of the Mountain, guys. So what are we doing?
Yeah. And over the years, like, you could have switched it around. Like, you could have done a knockouts year with King of the Mountain, Queen of the Mountain, I guess. You could have done an X Division year. You know what I mean? Like, you could have changed. It didn't always have to be the world title, but, like, it feels like King of the Mountain should have been something that always took place at Slammiversary.
Yeah, and that is something they did. Whereas, like, in 2009, they had 2 King of the Mountains, one for the X Division, one for the world title. And then it was a Hogan Bischoff thing, of course, where they got rid of the tradition of King of the Mountain being the Slammiversary match, and then it came back in the middle of the 2000s or 2010s for 2015, and then disappeared again, and then came back for the 20th anniversary. Then we had Queen of the Mountain in 2022. But yeah, like part of me is like, you know, you're throwing 6 guys in the world title match. King of the Mountain's right there. It's a tradition. I like traditions. I really do like traditions because it makes your company feel like it has its history. You know, it's not just we're doing something for no reason. It's like you can get a little bit excited. It's like, oh, we're heading into King of the Mountain season. How are they going to do it? Are they going to do qualifiers? Are they going to start putting people in the match? You have traditions to look forward to, and I like that.
Yeah.
So May 18th Impact opens with Christian Cage. He celebrates in the crowd as they chant his name because he's retained the NWA World title in Full Metal Mayhem against Abyss at the pay-per-view. Says the title belongs just as much to the peeps as it does to him. Next up for Christian is King of the Mountain. He points out, as many people will many times this month, that the champion has never retained in King of the Mountain. So the champion has never walked into King of the Mountain and walked out with the belt. Ron Killings lost in 2004. AJ Styles lost in 2005. So will he break tradition? Will he be the man finally to retain a title in King of the Mountain? He says he's kicked more ass by accident than most have on purpose. So we'll see who steps up. Monty Brown comes out. He says he's back because it's the first time we've seen Monty since he lost to Christian actually in March. So it's our first time we've seen Monty in a few months because he got his knee scoped.
Yeah. And
we're also in the final run of Monty.
Yeah. Do they know that they're in the final run of Monty yet?
It feels like it.
Yeah. It's the impression I get.
It does certainly feel like a man who is running out his contract because he doesn't even go, like, realistically, if you're to be like, who should qualify for King of the Mountain, Ron Killings or Monty Brown? The answer should be Monty Brown, and yet it turns out to be Ron Killings.
I was kind of shocked, and then I thought, like, maybe it was because they felt the need to have someone a little more, like, bouncier and athletic, because if you don't have Ron in here, you don't kind of have anyone in that role.
Yeah, I guess Abyss can take bumps, but he's not, as you said, like a guy who can do some ladder spots.
You don't have AJ here.
And Sting, Christian, Jarrett are all guys who are heavyweight guys. Christian's the most athletic of the three, and Sting is willing to jump off things, as we'll find out. But yeah, you are right that it is probably, if we added Monty to that match, it's far too heavyweight leaning, whereas Ron can do some dives and be athletic and be something different in the match, I guess.
Yeah, so I thought that might have been a reason too.
So Monty says he owes Christian a pounce, period. Adrenaline Rush hits, and then Rhino comes out, Killings comes out, Raven comes out, Abyss comes out, Jarrett and Steiner come out. Of course, Jarrett is the only one that gets to speak, says he deserves to be in the match, which brings out Sting. Sting's in the rafters and says, by Jarrett involving himself in King of the Mountain, now Sting's involving himself in King of the Mountain. And then Larry Zbyszko appears on the screen, and he says, it turns out we have 8 men around here, but we only need 4.
He's also very prim and proper here. You should keep that in mind.
I did quite like that. He's making like a very formal, a very official announcement that seems like it's above reproach. No one can question it. He is being fair and decent. If there is any new faces of TNA management potentially watching, Larry is doing things by the book.
It was very funny.
So yeah, we have 8 contenders. We only need 4. So over the next few weeks, there will be King of the Mountain qualifiers. But the hook is, we won't know who will be in the matches until bell time. So no one knows when they'll be wrestling, and no one knows who they'll be wrestling until the music hits. So that's the hook over the next few weeks, that you're given these 8 men. You're given Raven, Killings, Abyss, Steiner, Jarrett, Monty, and Sting. And then like your imagination can run wild about the kind of matches that can happen between those 8 men.
Which is like, gives us our monthly Jeff Jarrett has something to whine and complain about, and a mystery to solve, because that's the only story he knows how to tell.
Yeah, he can always. He's mad at people. He's always mad at people. He's giving out to people all the time.
He's gotta ask, who knows what? Who's telling me something? Let me know.
He needs to demand things from Mike Tenay. We'll actually cover one of those under Steiner Joe, because it kind of fits better there. But yeah, there's one of those on this show where they're shouting at JB and Steiner's mad.
Yeah.
So main event of this episode, your first King of the Mountain qualifier is Abyss versus Rhino. Abyss coming out without James Mitchell, because Mitchell got dropped on Thumbtacks at the pay-per-view, so he's selling that.
Yes, it's weird to see Abyss without James Mitchell now. I'm so used to it.
Yeah, and these two, just bad chemistry, I think.
Yeah.
For 2 guys you would think should have good chemistry, and did have one really good match, there's a lot of stinkers between these two. Some very boring TV matches.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Alright. Abyss, at one point, Rhino kicks out of a move, and Abyss, like, screams something, and then Don tries to, like, speculate about what Abyss was saying, and he's like, I think he said, I had it. Rude comes out, but Rhino fends him off. The distraction allows Abyss to hit a black hole slam for the win, as D'Amore gloats after. We'll talk more about Rhino and Rude and D'Amore, the big pay-per-view match we've all been looking forward to. But Abyss qualifies for King of the Mountain.
I'm glad that he did.
Over Rhino?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's nice to brand your homegrown talent in the world title match, huh? Fuck you, fucking Paul Heyman. May 25th Impact.
To me.
May 25th Impact. JB is backstage with the remaining King of the Mountain qualifiers. It teases what tonight's main event could be. We get a feature on King of the Mountain explaining what King of the Mountain is and the rules, and once again reiterating no champion has walked into King of the Mountain, walked out with the belt. JB has Sting. He's fired up for the King of the Mountain. He's seen wrestlers and companies come and go, but he doesn't want that to happen to TNA, and he sees the biggest threat to that happening to TNA being Jeff Jarrett. So he needs to remove him from King of the Mountain and remove him from TNA.
Oh my gosh.
We then, this is unrelated to King of the Mountain, but we had an ad for Slammiversary.
Yeah. It's goofy.
So there's Mike and Don are watching golf. They're watching a fake Tiger Woods go for a putt, but Jarrett cuts him off and hits him with a guitar, and Mike and Don are very amused by this. And there's a fun note about this, that In Demand nixed it. They wouldn't use this pay-per-view commercial because they skewed far too close to actually using Tiger Woods' likeness. So In Demand was like, ooh, no, we can't use it, sorry.
It's so good though.
Cowards in the pay-per-view industry, Liam. There's an interview with Raven, points out that both he and Jarrett have won a King of the Mountain, so it would be a battle between them of the previous King of the Mountain winners. JB also has Jarrett and Steiner. Jarrett says he'll regain the title. Steiner tells Jarrett to shut up, says he came to TNA to watch Jarrett's back and beat up Sting. Steiner demands Larry Z pull he and Sting's name out of the hat, and he's mad at Joe eyeballing him, says next time Joe does that, he'll slap the taste out of his mouth, because nobody eyeballs Big Papa Pump.
I wouldn't. I'd be very afraid to.
Would you actually be scared? If you were in a room with Scott Steiner, 5x5 room, it's just you and Scott Steiner.
Okay, no Bird, no Scorpion either.
No, this is just Steiner.
Okay.
2 chairs in opposite corners of the room, but not like making eye contact. So you're against with the same wall, back to the same wall.
Like you're at a waiting room.
Yeah, so you sit in one chair and Steiner sits in the other. Would you spend the entire time not looking at Scott Steiner?
No, I wouldn't. You know what I would do?
What would you do?
I'd go, hello, Mr. Steiner. Did you know that we have the same birthday?
You have the same birthday as Scott Steiner?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So I would simply talk to him about that.
You would extend the olive branch?
Yeah.
Do you think he would then become friends with you?
I think because it is a very, it's a very rare birthday. I feel like both of us would relate to that fact that we don't see many people with the same birthday.
I feel like well, actually, probably if you look into the stats, it's not the case that that birthdays are evenly distributed. There are probably, for various reasons, birthdays stockpile in certain months.
Yeah, I mean, I would simply relate to Mr. Steiner, and we would become besties.
And then he would attack your enemies on your behalf?
Yes, exactly. I would become his Jeff Jarrett, in a sense.
We all become Jeff Jarrett in the end. He says nobody eyeballs him because it makes him want to snap! Snap! JB also has Ron Killings. Killings points out that he's a 2-time champ and he'll make it 3. Then he raps. They did seem to largely forget that Killings was the one who lost the belt in the first King of the Mountain, but they brought it up in the Slammiversary cold open. That's where Killings is like, King of the Mountain means a lot to me. It's like, because he lost the belt in the first one. So they did eventually remember that. But your main event of this one, Ron Killings versus Monty Brown in a King of the Mountain qualifier.
Wow.
Which is a fun match. Not a particularly good one, but it's a fun one.
A lot of them, a lot of the King of the Mountain qualifiers, aren't good, but it is fun to have them on the show.
Because, all 4 are, actual star versus star TV main events.
Yeah, and, it's just having, name versus name.
Christian joins commentary here. Again, they once again reiterate the champion has never left King of the Mountain, still champ. Ron hits a big plancha, then Monty, beats his ass for a while, hits an alpha bomb, hits a fallaway slam, then Truth just grabs a roll-up, pins Monty when he goes for the pounce. And then Truth qualifies with Abyss for King of the Mountain. June 1st Impact opens with everyone's favorite segment, Jeff Jarrett demanding to know what's going on.
Thank God. What would a pay-per-view cycle be without that?
We've gone at least 3 weeks without Jarrett appearing at the announce table, shouting at Mike Tenay, demanding to know something. So, is it really TNA?
Is it? That's the question.
We have long established that the #1 real feud across TNA history is Mike Tenay versus Jeff Jarrett. Going all the way back to 2002, 2003, 2004, where every week Jarrett and Tenay would shout at each other and get mad at each other and cut promos on each other.
The My Way hype music video, but it's Tenay and Jarrett.
I should actually cut that. Just one Mike Tenay face. More fight, other Mike Tenay face. About a lot of things, or whatever the lyrics of that song are.
About your leadership. Ooh.
Oh, I'm a fake Limp Bizkit fan.
No, but also those lyrics resonate with the story being told.
Oh, he's trying to take down the Jeff Jarrett leadership? But yeah, Jarrett says there's only one person that wants to know who's wrestling tonight more than he does, and that's Scott Steiner. Steiner comes out and shouts at Mike and Don and demands to know. He then attacks Don and rolls him in the ring. Steiner wants Larry Zbyszko to give him Sting tonight. Sting's music hits. Don rolls to safety. Sting and Steiner brawl. Jarrett backs up the ramp into Raven. They also brawl. Raven and Sting stand tall.
Raven, good coats this month.
Especially with Sting. Good coat men.
Hey, they look cool together, didn't they?
Yeah, this should be a tag team. It was kind of funny to see them next to each other. It's the part of my brain was just Raven and Sting. Look at them go.
They should be teaming up.
We had a feature later in that show on Christian and King of the Mountain. Believe it or not, Liam, he wants to be the first person who walks in and out as champ.
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy business. Why would he want that? Why would he want to retain his belt?
Nobody has ever said that no champion has ever retained a title in King of the Mountain either.
Wow.
Christian, in fact, has a line on the pay-per-view. It's I think you've heard 50... he did the literal, if I had a dime for every time somebody told me that the champion had never won in King of the Mountain, I'd have 51 dimes, I think he said. Jarrett's not King of the Mountain. He beat Jarrett, so it's the Christian Cage era now. And then our main event, King of the Mountain qualifier. After all these years, after 3 in fact, since they originally wrestled for the NWA World title in the biggest match in TNA history, we finally get the rematch between Jeff Jarrett and Raven.
And we get it unannounced. On TV.
It's crazy. Because, like, the way they did this, like, obviously the idea was you're not going to know who the main events are until they come out. And if you're to say which of the matches we have set up, because the last one you will then announce in advance by default. You know, it's the last one left over, so you know the last two left are Sting and Steiner. So that's the match you actually announce. So you are probably right to leave that one last, because that is, on paper, the biggest match. So you actually want to hype that one up for a week. But you're like, Jarrett, Raven 2. After all these goddamn years, the huge match, sold out the Asylum, did one of TNA's best weekly pay-per-view numbers. Like, a great match too. Like, it's extremely silly with all the interference, but tremendous fun. After all these years, we finally get it, and as you said, unannounced as a TV main event.
I feel like they could have, like, had Larry finally be like, fuck it, and, like, pull the names out and reveal both matches. And that way you could have advertised both.
Do you think Larry Z, in fact, gimmicked it after threats from Scott Steiner? There's many threats from Scott Steiner to give him Sting, and he did give him Sting in the end.
Yeah, probably. But, like, I actually thought the payoff was going to be that it was going to be Raven and Sting.
Which that would be, but then you'd have to do Jarrett and Steiner.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to be. I thought the whole time it was going to be, like, Jarrett and Sting, and I saw Jarrett and Steiner, and it was going to be, like, some bullshit, you know?
And them trying to find a way out of beating each other. But I guess that is the idea, that your imagination is meant to run wild. You're meant to, but maybe it is Jarrett and Steiner. Maybe their entire scheme will blow up in your face.
Because that was also one they never mentioned.
Yeah, and they were pretty good at, like, they even ran down the ones they ended up being. Like, they didn't shy away from, like, saying maybe it could be Jarrett Raven. They did say that at one point. But you're right, I don't think the only one they didn't say was Jarrett against Steiner.
And so the whole time I was like, it's totally going to be Jarrett and Steiner.
But no, you got Jarrett and Raven after all these years having a fun TV main, actually. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, like, they still have good chemistry together, even though, like, they spent 3 years neutering Raven.
They go straight into crowd brawling. This is the 2 former winners of King of the Mountain, so then they also point out that, again, it will be Sting versus Steiner next week by process of elimination. Raven looks to elbow drop Jarrett through a table off the stage, but Jarrett moves and Raven crashes and burns. They brawl into the concession stand. Jarrett crashes through the stand. Raven follows after, kind of misses and just runs right into it. It's kind of funny. They brawl back into the building as Raven hip tosses Jarrett down the ramp. Ref gets bumped. Gale slides in the guitar. Raven gets a sleeper as blood drops out of Jarrett's mouth, which did add drama. He started bleeding from the mouth. It's like, what the fuck happened to you, buddy?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. It didn't feel like a complete, like, waste of time or anything. Like, they had good chemistry. They had a good little brawl. It felt appropriate, like, for what, like, these two have meant to each other in the company's history. Like, they did the best with the position of the match.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of, like, annoying that this is what we got after all these years.
Because, like, it's an Impact TV main, which means it's going 7-8 minutes tops. So, which is about what they got, I think, and that's about. And they made about the most of what you can get out of your 7 or 8 minute Impact main event. But yeah, it's just funny. At least it happened, I guess. At least they did get one Jarrett Raven rematch.
Yeah.
As I said, Raven has a sleeper on Jarrett, and blood is spewing out of Jarrett's mouth, which does add some drama. Every sleeper, by the way, you should start bleeding from the mouth. It makes the sleeper much more dramatic.
Yeah.
Raven drop toe holds Jarrett onto a chair. Larry Z comes out and takes the guitar from Raven. Jarrett hits a low blow, but Larry takes the guitar from Jarrett too, so he's a fair man.
Yeah. I was kind of, like, wondering what this was. It felt like for a minute there, like, Larry was gonna forgive the sins of Raven. And, like, it felt like they were gonna be on, like, that was gonna be the blow off to the feud. Was Larry was gonna be like, fuck Jeff Jarrett,
which is the conclusion we should all come to eventually.
Yeah.
Raven goes to hit Jarrett with the guitar, but Jarrett moves, and Raven accidentally hits Larry instead. Stroke puts Jarrett in King of the Mountain alongside Killings, Abyss, and Christian. As mentioned, process of elimination leads us to the June 8th Impact, in which Scott Steiner faces Sting.
I was gonna say, sorry, like, it opens the show. Is Jarrett versus Raven to Sting versus Steiner, like, the biggest match-to-match, like, run in Impact history?
Yeah, go from main event to opener?
Yeah.
It might be.
Like, just the biggest, like, the biggest 2 matches, like, in a row, technically.
And if you were to, like, what are some of the biggest singles matches TNA could potentially build up? Like, the Jarrett Raven rematch has been one of them for 3 years, even if it has lost its luster over time. And then, like, Sting and Steiner is one of the bigger ones now. And, like, they did, like, as you said, it opened the show. So, like, they did do a bunch of things at the start. We got, like, a quick interview with Sting. He said it's showtime. We got a quick interview with Jarrett and Steiner. Jarrett instructs him to take out Sting, and Steiner's fired up. Like, we got highlights of the previous 3 qualifiers, and then, like, both men got these, like, big dramatic intros where they, like, slowly, you know, were warming up backstage, the slower version portions of their theme songs before the music hit. They did a few smaller things to try and make this feel like a big TV opener.
Yeah. That's good. I don't know. I feel like they did a good job of making it feel like a big match, even though it was just TV.
Yeah, and I'm really enjoying Steiner. We'll talk about it more, obviously, with the Joe stuff. But like, Steiner is a guy who I think his entire reputation got shot by the WWE run in 2002, where he had two very bad matches with Triple H, one of the worst of all time, and then he just kind of fell into a mid-card loop before he crashed out of there. And I know he had injuries and he had other stuff going on there, that he had some difficulties in WWE for various reasons. But like, I feel like that defined Steiner's reputation for maybe the rest of his career. And like, he is obviously old and large and injured and relatively washed up here, but like, in the right circumstances, Steiner's still got some juice in multiple ways.
Yeah, we're not saying that Steiner is what he was.
He's not 1992 Scott Steiner, like, doing the most awesome New Japan matches you've ever seen.
Yeah, but he's like, he can pull it out for a moment.
Yeah, and there's a deep discussion of people who have aura. Mm-hmm. And Scott Steiner is one of them. That man is real.
Real rock and roller.
Scott Steiner is a man who you see on pro wrestling television and you are like, that is not an act. That man is real. That is who he is.
Authenticity.
They brawl out to the floor and Sting hits Steiner in the skull with a chair at ringside. And Earl Hebner just kind of does like a, come on.
Come on, guys.
He doesn't even admonish them really. He's like, guys, come on.
Please.
Steiner hits a low blow, takes control. Crowd chants steroids at him, which is quite rude. Sting hits a top rope clothesline, makes a comeback. Sting goes for a stinger splash, but Steiner pulls the ref in the way. Gale and Jarrett interfere as Jarrett hits the stroke on Sting. Slick Johnson runs out and Sting kicks out. Sting drops out of a suplex into a Scorpion Death Drop, but Jarrett then pulls the referee out. Sting gets a roll up on Steiner, but Jarrett jumps Sting for a DQ. Hebner disqualifies Steiner. Sting qualifies for King of the Mountain by disqualification, which is it's a shitty cop out, but it's the right call. Steiner shouldn't be taking a pin before the show.
Yeah, and like, again, this is an aura match. This is a match just between seeing two guys in the same ring. You don't really need a clean finish on TV for this.
No, it's one of those where it's like, I'm fine with a DQ. Jarrett and Steiner attack after the match. Truth makes the save, but then Abyss with Mitchell now, who has returned after 3 weeks of pulling thumbtacks out of his back, presumably. Truth hits Abyss with an axe kick, but Jarrett jumps him behind, and then Christian makes the eventual save.
Yeah.
The opening segment of the June 8th edition of Impact drew a 1.1 rating, disappointing to TNA because they were really hoping that Sting and Steiner would pop a huge rating. What they forgot when they planned that was they were head-to-head with one of the NBA Finals games, so they fucked themselves over.
Wrestling forever but getting fucked by the NBA Finals.
Yeah, so it was a really good rate, and apparently it grew quarter hour 1 to quarter hour 2, which is pretty rare for Impact at this point. So it apparently did pick up some steam having Sting and Steiner, but they were hoping for like a record-breaking number, and they only did a normal good number. So NBA Finals, baby, fucking everybody over all the time. Go home, Impact. Christian kicks off the show. He runs through all of his opponents. He says, "You cannot beat me," in a slow voice about Abyss, which seems a bit rude. Our problematic babyface world champion.
How dare he?
He then does a riff on What's Up. He hopes Truth can wrestle better than he can dance.
Again, two-time former champion.
Yeah, I held the belt more than you have, buddy. Jarrett embarrasses himself enough, so he doesn't have to say anything about him, and that brings him to Sting. I do think this is like the weakest part of Christian's entire act.
Yeah.
Like, he is very much trying to be a version of The Rock. Like, he's trying to do, like, babyface comedy. He even does, like, the Rock pauses and backstage interviews. He is trying to be that kind of babyface. And I just don't think that's who he is. It's not his strong suit. And as we see in this segment, we are obviously gearing toward the eventual Christian heel turn, where, like, he starts distrusting Sting. Sting is like, the only reason I'm here is to remove Jeff Jarrett. That's the only thing I want out of King of the Mountain. You don't have to worry about me. And Christian is rightfully very dubious of that idea. Meaning, like, you have no interest in the title? None at all? And Sting's like, no. And then Christian says the worst thing that could happen for TNA is for me to lose the title. Never mind Jeff Jarrett win it. Says this is his time, and then he stares deep into Sting's eyes. So we have distrust between Sting and Christian.
I mean, and I don't know, Christian, my man's feeling very heelish lately.
Like, there is a lot of talk, again, in the media about how successful Christian has been as champion. And I think some of it is fair. I don't think he's been this, like, home run, no questions asked, babyface champion that has held this belt and is doing great. He does feel a little bit unsure of himself in a top babyface role. And I think he has for a lot of his career, because the man is just a natural heel. He has always been a natural heel. And anytime he is in like a top heel position, he is excelled. And anytime he's been in a top babyface position, it's felt a little shakier. And we're seeing that play itself out here as they're realizing this guy has a more natural role, and maybe we should just take it. Because he's just a smarmy git. That's who he is. He's just a smarmy piece of shit.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's fine. Like, I feel like you did have to introduce him as a babyface. But, like, he does need to eventually turn. Sooner rather than later.
We get features on the show on Jarrett and King of the Mountain, on Truth and King of the Mountain, and on Abyss and King of the Mountain, just to set them all up. And that's your go-home stuff for the main event. We open with a feature in Slammiversary on focusing. Once again, you might have heard this, Liam. No champion has ever entered King of the Mountain and left as champ.
Since fucking when?
They finally acknowledge Ron as one of the losers here, which this is good at least. It gives Ron an extra incentive in this match. It's on the pay-per-view they do it, but fine. And also focus on pitting Sting and Christian against each other. JB has Jarrett. His whole life he's proved the naysayers wrong. They said he was too short to play basketball, and he played basketball at varsity level or whatever.
Okay.
He was named Rookie of the Year in his first year, and he succeeded time and time again, which seems less like proving naysayers wrong and more like Nepo baby behavior here. He said he's the Reggie Jackson, the Michael Jordan, the Joe Montana of wrestling.
Okay.
Before Cornette could, later in the show, he drops that they said we wouldn't last 6 weeks. And here they are, going on 4 years. He's gonna regain the belt, and Larry Zbyszko walks in and he's like, the new face of TNA management is who you think it is, and it doesn't look good. And Jeff is like, why are you telling me this 2 hours before my match?
He brings a valid point.
We had all of this time to scheme and plan, and you just show up live on the show during my backstage interview 2 hours before my match?
Again, he kind of has a point.
But Jared is like all your failures, I will fix this.
Alright, cold.
JB has Sting later in the show.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
Despite the go-home segment being built around Sting being like, I don't really want the belt, I just want to stop Jarrett. Sting is like, if I have the chance to the belt, I'm actually going to take it. If I can get it, I'm going to take it. Sorry.
Yeah.
But his main priority is still Jarrett. But if the opportunity arises to become champion, he may take it.
I like that he kind of admits, like he's like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's like, he called me out, and he's right. He is dead right. I want the belt.
It's not my main focus, but I'll take it.
We also have a video look in this show at the best moments in TNA history set to Fighter by Candlefuse.
Ooh. It's a great song, isn't it?
Because they use this song a bunch. They use it on the top 50 moments in TNA history DVD, which is where you may have heard it first. They also use it on, there's a special feature on the Slammiversary 2007 DVD, which is the same concept. It's just an extra year of TNA footage added in with the same song. So like this song is burned into my brain. This is My Way by Limp Bizkit.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was a Jesus song.
It's always Jesus. Everything TNA always has is Christian rock. I guess Christian rock is an overstated role in wrestling history because of Creed as well.
Yeah, I didn't know. I was listening to it on the way to work. And I was looking at the lyrics once I parked. I was looking at the lyrics and I was like, oh, this is Jesus.
You have finally found faith.
Yeah, and that's what got me.
Through this video package on Slammiversary 2006, you're like, holy shit, Jesus is real.
Shout outs to the people on Twitter that think we made that video, by the way.
There's some people that do?
Yeah.
I would have thought the zoom-in shot on the screen in the impact zone is the tip-off that we may not have made it.
No, we made it.
Okay, my video editing extraordinary skills.
That was just great editing.
We also have JB has Christian on that show as well. And he said if he had a dime for the number of times he's heard the champ has never retained the King of the Mountain, he'd have like 51 times. But it's like, I told you, Sting showed his true colors earlier in the show. I told you he wants the belt. The title is like a drug and you don't want to let it go. And then King of the Mountain, for the NWA World title, Jeff Jarrett defeats Abyss, Christian Cage, Sting, and Ron Killings to become champion for the 6th time.
Like, okay. Obviously, that's a bit shite. We can all admit the idea of Jeff Jarrett being TNA champion once again, NWA champion, is not the most appealing thing in the world.
Not at all.
I'd argue that my bigger crime in this match is that it was pretty boring.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. Like there's some, like, Sting finds his first high thing to jump off of. So we have an arc to the back half of his career begins here, where he does a crossbody off the penalty box to the floor, and we will see that scale up in extreme fashion in AEW in like 18 years. But yeah, Abyss gets crashed through some tables, but there's nothing going on in this match. Like, Earl Hebner's referee, Larry Z is keeper of the belt, which will be important for the finish. But like, in terms of being like, I think King of the Mountain, it's a ladder match, so like you can only go so far wrong realistically. And I think the first two, and particularly the 2005 one, is very good, and the first one's pretty good too. And this one is just largely pretty boring.
Yeah. I don't know. It just, not a lot. Like, I liked the stuff with Christian and Sting, and like towards the end, where Sting has Jarrett in the deathlock, and he's like, "Go get the belt, Christian, do your thing." But I don't know. It's kind of a dull match. Besides a couple big spots, I think it probably suffers from not having a Jeff or an AJ or someone in there to like die.
Because AJ was in the first two.
Yeah,
and he's in the next one.
They learnt from that mistake, obviously.
Yeah.
And yeah, Jeff Jarrett comes out as champion, so, you know, looking forward to the next run of Impacts.
The finish is so convoluted.
Explain it for the people.
So Jarrett becomes eligible earlier in the match by hitting a stroke off the apron into the rail on Killings, which looked really good. Killings,
yeah, it's a good move.
Yeah, Killings took a great bump there. So he's eligible. Sting and Christian are eligible. Christian goes to climb the ladder, and Larry Z just low blows him and stops him. He's just like, fuck it. Fuck the pretense. We're not doing a scheme. I'm screwing you. I'm on Jarrett's side. Christian and Sting then implode over the title, and then they're both climbing the ladder when Earl Hebner, who was bumped, stumbles into it and knocks both men off. But the camera kind of misses this.
Yeah, and it looks like someone else just did it.
Because you just kind of see Hebner stand up, and they cut to an angle where the ladder falls over, and you don't actually see what happened.
Yeah, you kind of assume that, like, oh, Ron or Abyss or, like, whatever, like, some Steiner, something that would make sense.
But no, it's Earl. Earl stumbles into the ladder, knocks both men off, and then Jarrett climbs the ladder. And as my voice breaks, that's how upset I'm about this. And Jarrett climbs the ladder, hangs the belt. Crowd throw rubbish even before he hangs the belt. As he's climbing the ladder,
because they know what's happening.
They start throwing bottles and shit at him, as he is the new NWA World Champion.
Why didn't they just have Steiner do this instead of Earl?
Well, the idea is they set up a scheme, and it'll be a whole thing on TV where they try to prove the collusion, even though the collusion is very obvious. And you'll see that play out next month.
Yeah, like, I understand that, like, Earl wasn't just fumbling his way into it, you know, like, but, like, why not just do it with Steiner?
I don't know.
Like, you can still say it's a scheme.
But you just need to do more convoluted bullshit, you see.
I guess so.
Because if Jarrett has to win the belt, he has to win it in the most annoying way imaginable.
To really emphasize that it's a Jeff Jarrett title win.
So Larry Z immediately escorts Hebner out of the building, but Jim Cornette appears, confiscates the title, and we go off the air as Jim Cornette holds the belt, and Jarrett looks really mad and stressed.
Jim Cornette is the new NWA.
That's the takeaway I had. Actually, during the qualifier, when Jarrett beats Raven, there's like a palpable sense of relief to Jarrett. It's like a really good performance. There's like a desperate sense of relief that's like, thank God I qualified for King of the Mountain. It's really good there. Well done. I will give Jarrett one compliment.
Yeah, I mean, like, there is elements to Jeff Jarrett that are good. We've never denied it.
It is just the 6th NWA World title in 4 years.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And like if you could make a rational case. No, I'm going to even disagree with myself, because I would say Christian should just turn heel and it should be Sting and Christian.
Yes, like you're trying to defend like why they need to put it on Jarrett.
Yeah, you need to put it on Jarrett for Sting to beat Jarrett. Jarrett and Sting can be non-title, who cares? And Christian can turn heel, and you can have Joe or Sting beat Christian. So I'm going to disagree with the kind of rational case I was even going to make for myself. Fuck you, Jeff. You shouldn't have won here. Christian should have just turned as champ.
Yeah, I mean, that would make more sense. I guess like the idea is that like the loss is what's going to turn him that extra way.
And maybe some issues with Sting.
Ooh.
But we will see that develop over the next few months. But Jarrett is once again NWA World Champion.
Thank God. What would we do without it?
Have a good wrestling show that I'd like. Let's go over to something a lot more fun. Samoa Joe and Scott Steiner.
Fun in a bunch of different ways. A, match quality. But B, silliness. And what are we here for if not silliness?
Love a bit of silliness. May 18th, Impact. Samoa Joe's looking incredibly cool backstage. He's just staring down the camera. It's just a shot of Joe looking cool.
Joe just has a lot of cool shots.
Yeah, it's just like he is there and he's awesome. That's all you need to know about Samoa Joe right in this moment. JB has Abyss with the King of the Mountain competitors. They're all tense because they could be called at any moment, except Steiner, who is really mad at waiting. So he kicks the set and storms off into the distance shouting, "No, I'm not waiting!"
Steiner is so, like, he just wants to fight all the time.
Especially Sting. He just wants to fuck up Sting.
He's like, that's the whole reason I'm here.
I've been brought to this company with 2 jobs. Watching Jeff's back and beating up Sting. And I really want to beat up Sting.
Someone give me Sting, goddammit.
So Steiner charges out to the ring. He wants Sting right now. Just like the segment later in the month, he starts choking poor Don West as Mike Tenay shouts, Scott, we have no control over this. Scott, stop. Samoa Joe's music hits, not because he's a diligent man wanting to save Don West.
Because it's his schedule. It's he's scheduled next.
Which, it's one of those, like, small little logic things that I appreciate. Like, it's not that Joe is the babyface making the save, because we established in the pay-per-view he's not really a babyface. He didn't even save Sting from Jarrett and Steiner's attack at the pay-per-view. But he's wrestling Chase Stevens next. Chase Stevens was already in the ring as Steiner went on his rampage, so Chase Stevens is just standing there.
Chase Stevens looked like an asshole. You just let it happen.
This entire month, the story is Chase Stevens looking like an asshole, to be fair, to set something up. So, storytelling that he's an already in the ring nerd.
But well, I like that they do this bit with the thing rolling into the next thing, or like it being related in some way. But I do feel like they do it a lot.
They're experimenting with format a lot this month, because a bunch of Impacts open either like the 4-way. We'll talk about the 4-way X Division match on the next show opens in progress with a lot of people in the ring. But yeah, they do try to do the old ECW thing, isn't it, where segments roll from one to the next. But like the reason they did it here is to find a way for Joe and Steiner to come face to face without Joe being like a babyface making the save.
Yeah.
Whereas he should make the save. It's Don West that's in trouble, Joe. Go save him.
Yeah, but he's kind of a dick.
So Joe and Steiner come face to face. Steiner flexes, says Joe's not man enough, as there's no physicality here, but there's a face off. Joe then very quickly beats Chase Stevens.
And then he just starts kicking him.
Yeah, it's like, I beat you really quickly with the coquina clutch, and then starts just kicking Chase Stevens. For Andy Douglas, who we haven't seen since Steiner took him out in March, he makes the save.
I just like that he started kicking the shit out of him.
We don't give a fuck about Chase Stevens. I've beaten you comprehensively, and I'm frustrated because I had to stare at Samoa Joe, or at Scott Steiner, so I am going to kick you.
It's like a real dick about it.
It is really interesting that they don't want Samoa Joe to be a babyface.
Yeah, they're really fighting that. They want him to be cool.
Yeah, but not a babyface.
They don't want him to be a baby.
It's really interesting how they're definitely fighting the tide with that as well. And maybe they are smart to not just book him as good guy. Like, maybe he keeps some of his aura by still being a bit of a dick.
Yeah. I mean, that might be part of it. And they, or maybe they just don't want to be like, feel like they're restricted to having him fight babyface.
Yeah, maybe at this point they are like, we don't want to go all in on Joe at the moment, because clearly the direction is Jarrett and Sting. So we can't have Joe be full babyface, so we'll keep him a little in the tweener category for the time being until we want to push him into the babyface side. Whereas I would have just said, just go with Joe. Just go with them. Come on. I didn't give them their own color-coded category. We will mention them a lot in multiple segments.
They don't deserve one, to be fair.
There is a story running through the month that we'll talk about as it goes, as it pops up in different stories. But Shane Douglas watches on as the Naturals are consoling each other, I guess, after their ass got kicked by Samoa Joe.
Shane is looking at his son.
I wonder, is he like eyeballing? It's like, am I related?
Douglas to Douglas.
June 1st Impact. There's an interview with Samoa Joe. Sting was Joe's route to the main event, where Joe could match up with the big dogs, and he said he promised he would have Sting's back from bell to bell, and he delivered on that. And even though Sting got his ass kicked after the match, he owed him nothing after that. Talks about how everyone has always feared Scott Steiner, but he can't wait to go one-on-one with him, but he doesn't think Steiner will risk his reputation to go one-on-one with Joe.
It's a good line.
Yeah, I really like the idea that, like, it's not that Joe is like disrespecting Steiner, because he is like, you are cool and a badass, but I'm just not afraid of you. Everyone else is afraid of you, but I'm not afraid of you.
And you can't handle the fact that I'm not afraid of you.
Yeah, and that actually, we'll talk about it when it gets to the match, but there's a fun way that plays into like the psychology of the match too, but we'll get to that in a second. So Steiner fails to qualify for King of the Mountain on June 8th. He gets disqualified against Sting. After that match, he grabs the mic and says he's not leaving, but once again, Samoa Joe is meant to be scheduled next. He's meant to be wrestling Chase and Rance. Steiner threatens to kill Chase and Rance for being there, not the other things. Joe's music hits, they go eye to eye, Steiner pie faces him twice, security and officials hit the ring to separate them, as Joe stands on the middle rope, staring over security, staring down Steiner, which is a great shot. So this is our first physicality since Sacrifices. We have a big pull-apart brawl between Joe and Steiner. JB is with Larry. He wants to see Joe versus Steiner. He's like, you're gonna make that match, right? And this is where Larry is like, guys, come on.
Maybe, I don't know.
It turns out later in the show, the new face of TNA management is going to make the decision for Larry. He's going to usurp his authority and make the decision on the match later in the show. And Larry's like, you can't make a decision that fast.
It's crazy.
Then we get an iconic moment in TNA history to close out the June 8th Impact. Christy Hemme comes out, hands an envelope to Don West.
Oh, okay, before she does that,
Yeah.
her entrance for coming out to hand an envelope is to go to the ring, do the splits on the ring apron, and then go over and give them the envelope.
Christy's gotta hit her high spot.
It's just so funny that she comes to the ring, does the split, shakes her ass, and then goes, time to deliver the envelope out of the ring.
Because Christy has moved to a new role in this show where, like, Mike Tenay calls her the bumper girl at one point, which sounds rude for some reason. But, like, she is, like, between segments, she'll be like, oh, you know, King of the Mountain qualifier coming up later tonight. There'll be, like, a 15-minute interstitial of Christy Hemme, like, plugging what's coming up later tonight.
I actually like her in that role.
Yeah, it's a fun, again, a new little presentation thing that you don't see on other wrestling shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, she does do her full entrance. It reminds me of that time when Rhea Ripley is making the save in NXT and she does her full entrance.
Yeah.
Except this time it's much sillier because she is just delivering an envelope, but does her full entrance. So Don stands on a chair and he's like, guys, new announcement by the new face of TNA management, and they made it official. It will be Scott Steiner versus Samoa Joe at Slammiversary. And then, as we go off the air, Mike Tenay and Don West do a big, dramatic, lovely, wholesome high five at the announcement of this match for the pay-per-view.
And they didn't, it wasn't Kurt Angle's debut.
No, it was. Someone tried to correct me. Which one? Me. Tried to correct me. How dare you? Me.
Just in general, not even about TNA.
I know, I'm never wrong.
Exactly.
Name one time I've been wrong.
Can't do it.
We are never wrong, we have never been wrong, and we never will be wrong. But also, to post that clip, I was watching the fucking show. I know exactly where it came from because I was watching it. Unlike all these engagement farm accounts that just go finding clips to post for engagement, I post clips from things I actually watch.
That's insane.
But yes, we do get the Mike Tenay Don West high five, and it's kind of forgotten. It kind of became a bad meme over time, where it would be like the Basham show up at the Impact Zone and people would post the high five. But I think we've reclaimed it. I think we've reclaimed the high five. But also, like, people forget, like, there is a reason they are celebrating that match being made. One, because it's fucking awesome, and these guys are awesome. But also, like, there's 2 segments this month where Don West is attacked by Scott Steiner. So, like, they are celebrating that match being made because Steiner is finally going to get his comeuppance for attacking Don West because he's going to face Samoa Joe. So, like, there is an actual reason that they're so enthusiastic about that. It's not just, oh, the match is made, yay. It's like, oh, yeah, that dude who, like, harassed and antagonized and terrorized us is finally going to get his ass kicked.
Yeah.
So the deep lore of the high five. And it's also just a very wholesome one.
It is. It's cool.
And it's very funny. If you look closely, Dory Funk Jr. is sitting behind them.
He's also high-fiving. He's freaking out. He's into it.
Which I never noticed. And all the times I watched it, it's like, oh yeah, there's Dory Funk Jr. He's just sitting there in his cowboy hat. They do the big high five. Go home show. We get a fucking awesome Scott Steiner Samoa Joe video package. Like, this is, I think, all I ever want in wrestling. Because, as I said, no talk of good matches, no talk of demos, no talk of ratings.
You know what it is?
What?
It's like an old school UFC promo.
Yeah, but for all the times people are like, wrestling should take from the UFC, this is what they should have taken, and realistically, it's what they should have taken back from the UFC, because it's like, this is what the UFC took from wrestling, and then wrestling stopped doing, and it's what made UFC really popular.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, Joe is like, I am a walking war. There's a great line where he's like, I smash Nash, I smash Sting, I smash Triple H, and then they cut to Joe being like, I'm not a game, I'm a walking war, Scotty. It's like, oh, yes! And then, like, Joe is like, you're fat, you're a half-breed. Which is like, dude.
Yeah. He's like, you can't call yourself Samoan Joe.
Yeah, on the pay-per-view, he's like, you're sloppy Joe to me. He's like, you see this, Joe? This is a vein. Something you'll never have, you fat little bastard. And like, there's Steiner, he's like, he takes his glasses off. He's like, look into my eyes. Your heart isn't as cold as mine, and I'm going to beat you like a dog. That's just like,
just gets you amped up.
It does. And like, Joe's going like full, you bring your suplexes, you bring your wrestling, you bring your reputation, you bring your bad attitude. I don't care, because I am pro wrestling. I am Samoa Joe. And like, that's all I ever need for pro wrestling. These are two badass, charismatic dudes shit talking to each other, and now they're gonna fight. Awesome. Maybe like the best video package this company's ever done.
It's really good.
So we do get promos from both Joe and Steiner on the pay-per-view. JB has Joe, says Steiner has never faced anybody but like Joe. He's not intimidated by Steiner. A lot of people go into Steiner matches being afraid of his short fuse, but he's going to stand there with a lighter. Says neither of them have had their shoulders pinned to the mat in TNA, and that changes tonight because he's going to take that from Scott Steiner. And then later in the show, JB has Steiner, and Steiner insists that Joe be called Sloppy Joe. He's beaten Goldberg, he's beaten Cena, he's beaten Batista, he's beaten Sting. Who is Joe beaten? All those guys in the X Division means nothing. Says all the fat rednecks out there want Joe to beat Steiner because they see themselves in Joe. Even TNA management wants Joe to beat Steiner because they're trying to sell this new DVD, The Best of Samoa Joe Unstoppable. Throws the DVD down, stomps on it, and says more like unsellable. And Joe, tonight I'm gonna kill you.
Those are incorrect. It's very sellable, as we've heard.
It's the hottest selling DVD in TNA history. And then we get it, Samoa Joe versus Scott Steiner.
It's awesome. I was like kind of just thinking about it last night, like after we did the news. I was kind of just chilling there, and I was watching the highlights that we had on the Twitter, and I was like, man, what a kick-ass fucking match.
Yeah, because it's 13 minutes long, which is, I think, the exact length this match should have been. And it's just two big heavyweight bomb-throwing dudes throwing bombs.
It's fucking awesome. Head drops. Straight out of like a Champions Carnival Night 5.
Yes.
Didn't make the first round of tapings, but is on the second round.
I think I really appreciate it. It's a very small touch, but you see, the start of the match is Steiner out-wrestles Joe. Like, Steiner uses amateur wrestling background to out-wrestle Joe. And then Joe spits in his face, which gets Steiner fired up and throwing bombs, and that's where Joe starts to get an advantage, which, like, ties into all the stuff they did in the build-up, where he's like, not only is Joe not afraid of Steiner, he's identified Steiner's short fuse as the weakness. Like, that's the downside of Scott Steiner. Like, that's what he can actually exploit. If Steiner was, like, calm, composed, just wrestled him to the mat, he'd probably beat him. But he lures Steiner into losing his temper, and that's where Joe starts kicking his ass. And like, oh, you've even tied the story together. Good pro wrestlers.
Yeah, they are good pro wrestlers.
You got to appreciate, like, Steiner's working his ass off here. For as much as Steiner has left in the tank, he is giving it all here. Like, he's taking big bumps, he's throwing big suplexes. He does like a half and half suplex where he drops Joe on his head, and it's awesome. But like, he's taking like blue thunder bombs. He's taking like the full force of Samoa Joe's strikes. Like, Samoa Joe is not pulling his kicks, he's not pulling his chops. He's being Samoa Joe with Scott Steiner. He's not treating like the old broken man with kid gloves. He does like a blue thunder bomb at one point. So like, Steiner, for as much, he doesn't take the muscle buster. By all accounts, like, they didn't want him to tap out just because, like, Steiner's reputation, he probably shouldn't tap out. But they also, he wasn't comfortable taking the muscle buster because he's a broken, hollow old man. So, but he apparently had no problem whatsoever putting him over clean, but he ends up winning with the snap power slam because of that. But like, Steiner really, like, he came to work. He came to have a Samoa Joe match. He wasn't compromising Samoa Joe, you know?
He worked up to Joe's style.
And like, this is the thing I think we mentioned last month, when these guys like really respected and enjoyed working with Joe. Like, the thing they should have realized, and the thing that happened here, is like, Joe can give them their best, most interesting match in years and years and years.
Yeah, I think some of them do realize that.
Like, this is maybe the last like truly great match of Scott Steiner's career.
Yeah, you'd know better than me.
Certainly, like, he had some really good matches with Petey Williams, of all people, who we'll get to those in 2008, 2009. But, like, this is maybe Steiner's last great singles match, where he just goes out there with Joe, and he just does all the shit you would expect him and Joe to do. And I think we were talking on the watch-along about how, like, this is, like, not your like, when you think top 5 Samoa Joe dream matches, Scott Steiner probably wouldn't be somebody that comes to mind. But, like, in practice, it's like, oh, he's a perfect opponent for Samoa Joe.
It makes, like, I think it's a perception thing. It's like, but it does. It makes total sense that you're like, oh yeah, Steiner Joe should be a dream match if you think about it.
Like the two things I think they really have in common is the thing we were mentioning for Steiner earlier is like they both feel real. Like you hear a Joe promo and you don't feel like that man is performing, and you hear a Scott Steiner promo and you definitely don't think that man is performing, and
you know he's not.
Yeah, and that's what makes these two really interesting to bounce off each other. That's what makes their that hype video so goddamn good, because it's two guys that you legitimately feel like want to kill each other. As I said, finish, Steiner had the Steiner recliner in, but Joe lifts him up to his shoulders. He dropped him on the ropes. He did kind of miss the ropes a little bit, and then pinned him after a snap power slam. So that was the finish, as Joe pins Scott Steiner clean in the middle of the ring in about 13 minutes. Hell of a match. Great feud. Even like going back to last month with all the stuff at Sacrifice, like the interactions with Joe and Steiner were really good there too. Like Steiner I don't think he could be a bigger success for his first like 3 months in TNA.
No, they kind of hit it out of the park.
And like he hasn't really beaten anybody. He's come in, he's been Scott Steiner, but he hasn't been like pinning everybody. I actually don't think he's pinned anybody. Which maybe you might say that's almost a critique. But he's come in, he's been like full aura Scott Steiner.
But he hasn't needed it, because it's like, you're right, it's just all aura and presentation.
And then you set him up to have Samoa Joe knock him down in like Samoa Joe's first major singles match outside the X Division. This is him beating the former WCW World Champion. It's exactly how you should use a guy like Scott Steiner. You know, this is like the blueprint for when you get a guy like this. You bring him in, you make him credible, and you have your young guy beat him. Awesome match. If you've never seen it, it's 13 minutes of dudes throwing bombs and doing suplexes and falling on their head. It's so good.
You couldn't possibly want more.
Now we shall do a hard pivot from Joe and Steiner to Bobby Roode and Scott D'Amore versus Rhino.
I mean, like, I don't think it's bad though.
No, it's perfectly fine, but it's like the most real awesome wrestling to like, it's just
some classic wrestling shite.
Yeah. So first impact of the pay-per-view cycle, the main event was Rhino versus Abyss in a King of the Mountain qualifier. Bobby Roode cost Rhino the match there by distracting him, and then Scott D'Amore gloated after the match. If you remember, Rhino lost to Bobby Roode at Sacrifice. So continuing that feud there. There is a Bobby Roode versus Andy Douglas match on the May 25th Impact. Tell me all about this one, Liam.
No.
I didn't actually make a single note about the match. I literally just said, Roode wins with the Northern Lariat.
He sure does.
I like how Andy Douglas makes this big return, and the next week he loses to Bobby Roode.
But yeah, because they're telling the story.
Slick Johnson is wearing shorts now.
He sure is.
There's a couple of notes about Slick Johnson's shorts.
Of course, let's go.
Mark Johnson, the referee who wears shorts, has so much TV time in the Larry Zbyszko angle because he's tight with Jeff Jarrett. He took to wearing the shorts because he had an idea to play like a soccer ref and pull out yellow and red cards. That was nixed. Now he's pushing to be a heel manager. Yeah. Mantell told Mark Johnson that Dixie Carter wants him out of the shorts. But then Jeff Jarrett, who is his buddy, told him they were okay.
Oh, Dutch Mantell can't be saying that to an employee.
On the pay-per-view, he was out of them, but he was back in them on TV.
All right.
It might have just been because it's Slammiversary they do, which I don't think they do anymore, but like they did back in the day. It would be formal referee attire for Slammiversary, so it would be like the shirt and the bow tie and the pants. So maybe that's why he was out of the shorts.
Maybe we'll see.
Roode looks to attack Andy Douglas with a chair after the match the same way Steiner did. Chase makes the save, but Team Canada overwhelm him. Rhino then makes the actual save. Roode bails out of the way of a gore, but it connects with A1. Rhino then demands a 2-on-1 handicap match at Slammiversary.
And Team Canada are like, you foolish idiot.
Yeah, you want to face us at a detriment? Yeah, we'll name anybody because it's going to be Roode and a member of Team Canada of Rhino's choosing. Rhino then briefly polls the crowd as to who he should choose, and then he chooses Scott D'Amore. So it will be Rhino versus Roode and D'Amore at Slammiversary. Slammiversary is really the D'Amore gets his comeuppance show, because Lance Hoyt did it last year too. It wasn't a 2-on-1 match, but he did moonsault him after the match. Franchise once again scouting the naturals here.
Douglas and Douglas.
There is talk of putting Bobby Roode and Tracy together, since she's had nothing to do since they stopped booking Matt Bentley. and they want him as a higher level singles player.
Well, I was going to talk about it on the pay-per-view, but I guess it makes sense with that note. It does feel like they've done a decent job of elevating Rude above random Team Canada member.
Yeah, there's a note I didn't include this month, but there was talk that they're like actively trying to differentiate the Team Canada guys as individuals.
Yeah.
And like Rude has the robe, they book him in singles. They do seem to be trying.
EY has like the aesthetic and the character.
Yeah, he has the paranoid thing going on.
PD is the X Division guy.
Great personality.
And the rest.
And A1 is Johnny Devine. June 8th, Impact. The main event was Chris Sabin and the James Gang versus Team Canada. We'll come back to this match a couple of times for different stories, but D'Amore is in a sweatsuit in preparation for his match at Slammiversary. He tries to eat a Twinkie, and Rude shouts at him and slaps it out of his hand.
Like, I don't know, I feel like they shouldn't be too scared. Like, this just makes it legal for Scott to interfere. Just be like, yeah, we're going to do a singles. Like, in their mind, the game plan should be, it's going to be a Rude Rhino singles, which we know we can win, and I can just interfere whenever I want, and it's legal.
Yeah, especially as you drove home the I know I can win part, because they did at Sacrifice. Once you keep D'Amore out of the ring as the legal man, everything's fine.
Yeah, so as long as he doesn't tag out, he's fine.
Later in this match, D'Amore throws Rude a hockey stick, but Rhino stops him from using it. But as I said, we'll come back to this match 2 other times.
Great.
Which does take us to the pay-per-view. We get a feature on Rhino versus Team Canada set to some generic rock song. I don't think they said what the song was on the screen. I would usually look into it if they do, but I don't think they did.
Who knows? It's crazy that they're like, yeah, let's give this the package.
Yeah, but it is their fairly standard. Everything gets a package more or less. But yeah, this extensive story, which they did include, I think, nearly every beat of.
Yeah, they had to find they used footage from other feuds, like just for reaction shots.
Yeah, just to get to a 90-second package. They could set to a generic, probably Christian rock song.
Yeah.
Rhino versus the Team Canada combination of Scott D'Amore and Bobby Roode in a 2-on-1 handicap match at Slammiversary.
They tried to do a real match instead of just doing the bit, and they suffered.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, if they only just did, like, quick heat segment comeback, gore D'Amore, do that in, like, a tight 5. You're like, perfect, well done, in and out, that's exactly what they should be. Instead, there's, like, a 5-minute heat segment on Rhino, and you're like, who the fuck wants that?
Like, why are we doing this?
D'Amore grabs the mic before the match, says Rhino was a coward by making this a handicap match because he wanted an excuse for losing, because he knew he'd get beaten up one-on-one by Scott D'Amore. It says the only thing that's handicapped is Rhino's IQ. It's a bit rude.
Fucking owned him.
Scott tells Rude to stay on the apron and be dazzled by his performance, but the second Rhino's music hits, Scott bails to the top of the ramp. And then, as I said, kind of boring match. D'Amore leads Rhino around the ring into a Rude lariat, and then they get the heat for ages. Scott does do a bicep pose, but pushes up his bicep with his other arm, which is a good bit. Scott misses a boot. That's you.
Yeah.
Pushing up your big muscles.
Yeah.
Have you ever had anything like resembling biceps?
Yeah, I got like...
Oh, you're jacked?
I'm not jacked. I'm a 20-something-year-old man.
All 20-something-year-old men do have biceps. I guess we all do have biceps. They're all part of our arms.
I'm not Scott Steiner or anything, but...
It is weird, like, there is multiple times where I was looking at Scott Steiner's arms in this month, and I was like, holy shit, how are they like that? Steroids is the answer, but, like, how?
Yeah. I got some buys and tries.
Tell me more.
Thighs.
Yeah.
Ties. Oh me, oh my.
Scott goes for a moonsault, misses. He kind of moonsaults into a push-up. It's quite funny. Rhino makes a comeback, pins D'Amore with a gore. Boring match.
D'Amore with the gore.
Gore. Yep. We'll head over to the X Division, in which the Samoa Joe is still X Division champion, and he's busy with Scott Steiner this month. So the main X Division feud this month is Kevin Nash versus Chris Sabin.
As you would expect.
The biggest X Division star of all time, literally, Kevin Nash.
So let's talk about it.
May 18th Impact. If you were to remember, the World X Cup back at the pay-per-view, very underwhelming tournament, ended in a tie. So it was a 5-5 tie at Sacrifice between Team Canada and Team USA. So the decider, the tie break, is a captain's match, which happens on the May 18th Impact between Chris Sabin and Petey Williams. Everybody goes to interfere. Larry Z bans them not only from ringside, he locks them out of the building.
A little overkill, perhaps.
He needs to keep them out. Well, it makes sense for the angle that happens after, which is another one of those like small logic things. But yeah, it is silly that like I'm going to lock you out of the building so you can't make make the save later. Tenay mentions that Sanjay suffered a sprained ankle at the pay-per-view. Kevin Nash arrives and throws the security guard into a wall. One of my favorite little things, Liam. Petey Williams goes for the Canadian Destroyer on Chris Sabin. He does the drop to the knee counter.
Yeah. Every time. They should do it every time they ever wrestle.
As I said, there is going to be a moment, I know it, there's going to be a moment where they don't do it. But so far, ever since they introduced in, what was it, November 2004, like over 18 months ago, they introduced the idea that Chris Sabin has the counter for the Canadian Destroyer. And I think every single time, and it's like 5 times since then, PD has gone to Canadian Destroyer Sabin. Sabin has done his counter.
That's good stuff. But now they got to counter the counter and countering the counter.
But like, there is going to be a time where he just hits it, and I'm going to be heartbroken.
Yeah.
Sabin reverses a top rope Rana attempt into the Cradle Shock for the win. Mike and Don spent most of the closing segment of this match talking about what the various King of the Mountain matches could be, because this happened straight after the Larry Zbyszko, we don't know what the matches could be segment was. And like, it really like underlined just how meaningless this tournament has been.
Yeah.
It's just like, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares. The post-match isn't even about Sabin and his team celebrating because we go to an Ash angle. The commentators aren't even talking about this tiebreaker. Could you imagine like the G1 final where they're like, oh, let's talk about something else happening in the show, you know?
Yeah, I mean, which is my least favorite thing in wrestling in general.
Like, I understand like if you're at the like you got to pay your bills, if you will. You know, at the start of the match you can like drop in. It's like, oh, who could the main event be tonight? It's one of these 8 men. That's fine. But like, these men are in the home stretch of their tournament tiebreaker. All these countries have come together for this great big tournament, and like, while they're going in their finishing stretch, they're talking about like Scott Steiner and Jeff Jarrett and Sting and Raven.
Yeah.
It stinks. Andrew Thomas presents Sabin with a comically large trophy. Nash jumps Sabin from behind, smashes the trophy. Nash gouges Sabin with a piece of the trophy, drawing blood, which I don't think Chris Sabin has bled before in this company.
I wouldn't be able to keep note of that.
You don't have a photographic memory of every time Chris Sabin has bled in the 3 years he's been in TNA so far?
I don't have an index of it, no.
Yeah, but Sabin gets color here for this angle. Nash drops him with a jackknife and said the X Division champion got nothing on him.
Which is a good line.
I do appreciate the bit that like he jumps X Division guys after the match. It's like, they got nothing on me. What a bunch of nerds.
Didn't even hit me once. Took no damage. Perfect round.
Yeah, like Tekken.
He jumps in when they have 1 hit left. Then he says perfect round.
Yeah. Lethal, Dutt, and Lynn eventually come out to make the save, as Tenay does point out they were locked out of the building by Zbyszko, so they couldn't make the save from the Nash attack. And then Shelley just kind of wanders out later than everybody else, but then leaves with Nash.
He does do like a little like pats him on the shoulder. He's like, good work, kid.
Betrayal. Though the thing he's betraying is America, so maybe I'm on board.
Or isn't he technically betraying the NWA?
Which I'm still on board. Fuck you, Billy. May 25th Impact, after an X Division match that we'll talk about when we get to the other side of the X Division. Nash arrives after the match and jackknifes Lethal.
I'm sure we could just chuck these two together, to be honest. There's not like a lot of story running through all of these. It's just kind of matches.
The deep lore behind the eventual 6-way on the pay-per-view, because you get a 4-way on TV. All right. The opener of the May 25th Impact, Senshi versus Jay Lethal versus Alex Shelley versus Shark Boy. You love this, apparently.
Sponsored by...
Yes. This match is sponsored by X-Men: The Last Stand.
I want to talk about X-Men: The Last,
which Don gives the pitch for, where he says he loved the first 2 movies, and he's heard this one is the last one and the best one.
Okay.
It was neither the last one nor the best one.
So, let's talk about X-Men: Last Stand.
It's a bad movie.
I love it.
Do you actually?
I do.
Do you really love X-Men: The Last Stand?
I love X-Men: Last Stand, and let me tell you why.
Please do.
X-Men: Last Stand came out in 2006.
I see where this is going.
I was 9. I fucking loved this movie.
Uh-huh.
And you know what?
What?
One sec. I need to check something before I say something slanderous. And the only X-Men movie not directed by a big pedophile.
I like the way you spent time going through all of them.
I just had to make sure that Bryan Singer actually was accused.
And to be fair, there are other X Division movies that were directed by people other than...
The only one of this run.
So I think you've technically accused like Matthew Vaughn of being a pedophile there too.
Not directed by Bryan Singer.
Yeah.
A more important thing. I love this movie. It's stupid, it's dumb, but it's awesome. It's just, like, for a 9-year-old, this is the best superhero movie.
They do kill a lot of people.
And they just do cool shit. They have cool powers. Magneto's awesome. What do you want from me? I love the first 3 X-Men.
I love the first 2 X-Men.
See, that's what I get to love the trilogy. While you are over there in your ivory tower, you're looking at the X-Men trilogy, and you're crying about Last Stand, and how it doesn't hold up, and, oh, Vinnie Jones is Juggernaut. Shut up. I get to like all 3. I get to enjoy all 3.
I was going to expressly state one of the positive column points for this movie is the "I'm the Juggernaut bitch" line, which is in this movie. If you don't like that line, you're a baby.
I want to Google all the X-Men movies right quick. Because I want to work out how many of them I think are good and how many of them I think are...
They have about a 50-50 hit rate, really.
X-Men good, X2 good, Last Stand good. Origins bad. Wolverine bad.
Wolverine is good. Oh,
the Wolverine is bad.
I like Wolverine a lot.
I mean, it's fun. It's like self-contained. It's not the worst.
You see, people remember like the last 10 minutes, which are bad. It becomes a really bad CGI fight that no one cares about. But I think everything before that is actually really, really good.
Okay, I'll put it in the middle. I'll meet you in the middle.
Okay, that's fair.
Logan, good.
Yeah.
First Class, good. Days of Future Past, good. I watched it recently. It's like good enough. Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, the worst shot you'll ever watch in your fucking life. What's the goddamn point? If Magneto's not on the screen, it doesn't serve anything.
I will say they're bad, both of them. Dark Phoenix does have, I think, the best scene of the X-Men kicking ass, though.
Yeah, but Dark Phoenix is a dog shit, terrible, awful, bad movie.
It is, but they have that one, like, 3-minute scene on the train where all of the X-Men are actually, like, a team fighting something, which I think is, like, the only time in all of these movies that actually happens.
Yeah.
And it is really cool, but the rest of the movie is diabolical.
But it's so bad. It's so bad, man. And by the way, every time I called Bryan Singer a pedophile, it was alleged.
Alleged, indeed. And
alleged.
The times you called everybody else who, what's his name, James Mangold, you also called him a pedophile, I think, technically.
I did.
But...
I did call, and Simon Kinberg.
Yeah.
And Matthew Vaughn.
Apologies to them for catching strays.
Brett Ratner.
No, Brett Ratner is the one you qualified.
Oh, yeah. Brett Ratner, you're the one.
Yeah, this X-Division opener is sponsored by X-Men The Last Stand.
Yeah, I saw that and I immediately knew I wanted to defend X-Men The Last Stand.
And it's like you got the X-Division and you get X-Men. There you go, branding.
Oh, Matthew Vaughn was originally going to do The Last.
Yeah, and then he did First Class. And I think he was originally going to do Days of Future Past too, but they pivoted to Bryan Singer.
Great.
Don mentioned that Senshi was revered in Japan as a former X-Division champion. And that's the reason he's come back, because they loved him so much for being X-Division champion. He's like, I want to win that belt again.
And they'll love me even more when I leave.
Yeah. That's actually how his career strategy, which I actually think if you actually do the math, it's actually exactly what he's done, which is win the X Division title, spend some time in Japan, go back and win the X Division title, spend some time in Japan. So he needs to re-establish his Japanese cred with the X Division title every so often.
Makes sense.
He beats Lethal with the Warriors away after a big Tower of Doom. And
remember when we started the Rain Takers? And Low-Key was just all over these shows?
Yeah, that was really weird, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Until he hitmaned his way out of the company. But yes, Nash arrives after the match, jackknifes the Lethal, calls himself the undisputed cruiserweight bully, and says size matters.
He's talking about his dick.
No, he's just talking about physical height. What are you talking about?
No, he's talking about his penis and cock and balls.
There is no segment this month where Kevin Nash alludes to his penis. I don't know what you mean.
Should I buy the X-Men 10 movie collection?
Sure. How much is it?
$46.
It's a steal. They're also all on Disney Plus, but
yeah, but like $35.
Ooh, Blu-ray or DVD?
Nah, it's Blu-ray. I want Ultra HD.
Ooh, Mr. I have even higher standards.
Ooh. Well, I can get the trilogy for $35 in Ultra HD.
As they're going out to break here, there's a fun moment where Nash is like, Shelly, look down the hard camera. He's like, let's do a pose. Shelly, look at the hard camera. Giving him his tutorship.
See, he's a good teacher. He's a benevolent god.
Yeah. June 1st Impact. Backstage, JB has Alex Shelley. JB is like, what's your deal, man? You're stalking people? You stalked Sting? You stalked Christian? Now you're freaking hooking up with Kevin Nash? Oh, no. He makes such a good noise. He's like, you've hooked up with Kevin Nash? And then Alex Shelley's like, now you've hooked your wagon to Kevin Nash. It's like fucking got his ass.
I like that Shelley's line of, what I do with my camera in my own time is none of your business.
Yeah, he's a photojournalist.
And it's perverted in nature.
Filming people through windows all the time. You leave him alone. He's just making movies. This is art.
Making flicks. Who are you to judge his art?
Nash walks in and says he can make Shelley a star. He's like, who you got tonight? He's like, Jay Lethal. But I lost my tripod. And Nash is like,
I got your tripod right here.
Right here.
Right here.
And then Jay Lethal versus Alex Shelley.
Yeah, they have a good little match.
Good little TV X Division match, as you would expect. Nash gets up in the apron, but Lethal whips Shelley into Nash's elbow, rolls Shelley up for the pin. They immediately jump Lethal after the match. Sabin makes the save, and then Nash uses Shelley as like a human shield and bails. He just kind of throws him at Sabin. Then Sabin picks up a microphone, and Mike Tenay is shocked. He's like, Sabin has a microphone?
Rude, first of all.
Bobby.
He used to talk all the time when he was heel X Division champion in the Asylum.
Yeah, he's a man who knows a lot about sex and talking.
Well, I don't know him personally.
He tells Nash to man up. He's like, man up, dog. Not the best opening gambit from Chris Sabin.
No.
Points out that his back wasn't turned, so Nash bailed. So he challenges Nash to a match at Slammiversary if he doesn't have a date planned with Alex Shelley.
Yeah, because they're gay.
They're gay pals.
Gay.
People who are gay. Brokeback Mountain.
Gay.
Sabin said he'll prove to Nash what Nash's wife has been saying for years. Size doesn't matter.
Because he's talking about penis.
Just a solid outline.
Penis.
It's better than gay. It's like your dick is small is better than gay.
Gay. Your dick is small and gay.
So that does set up our pay-per-view match, Kevin Nash versus Chris Sabin.
Well, we have another setup.
Yes, the next week, Nash is backstage, or no, he's in his hotel room, sorry, with Alex Shelley. We go to Paparazzi Productions, and he's like, Sabin, he fell for our trap.
We have a plan.
And then, once again, we go to a drawing on a piece of paper, one of those flipboard paper things. Do those have names? It's not a whiteboard this time. It's one of those, like,
dry erase.
No, it's like the boards with the paper that you like flip over the pieces.
Oh,
of
that
paper.
you tear them off.
Yeah, does that have a name for like the board version of that? I don't know.
Nah.
But yes, they have a 3-part plan. The first of which they've executed. They've lured Sabin into a match at Slammiversary. Part number 2, tonight, they plan to scout Chris Sabin. And they're going to make sure Sabin knows they're there.
Yeah.
And then part 3 next week, he instructs Shelley to find a total Sabin clone for a tune-up match, as next week will be the Kevin Nash X Division debut, which will also be a Size Matters on a pole match, but that doesn't happen. We're robbed.
I think it is, but there's the similar rules, to a regular match.
I see no polls.
I got a poll for you right here.
God damn it. Chris Sabin and the James Gang face Team Canada.
I was gonna say, like, the irony being that I think the closest person to like a Chris Sabin clone for Nash to wrestle is probably Shelley.
Yeah, he should have just jackknifed his buddy. BG says, "Hail Sabin, hail yeah."
Cool.
So Nash and Shelley said they were going to scout this match and they were going to be seen. So a few minutes into the match, a scissor lift appears at the very back of the building.
It's very funny.
It really is. They very slowly move into frame as Alex Shelley and Kevin Nash appear on a scissor lift over the bleachers at the very back of the building. And even like from Sabin, they're very tiny figures. What are those guys doing over there? And Nash notices them as Nash demands Sabin show him something, and immediately EY jumps him from behind, and they're like, yeah! Sabin gets worked over by A1, and Nash is like, he's being beaten up by a man half my size. Sabin gets the hot tag to Kip, who runs wild. This is where DeMore throws Rude a hockey stick, but Rhino stops from using it. Kip hits A1 with the Faymaster. Sabin wins with the top rope leg drop, which I guess it actually makes... he does that in the match with Nash as well. I was like, why is he winning with that? But I guess to set that up as a potential near fall against Nash, I guess is why they had him win with a top rope leg drop here.
It's also, maybe it's just nice to have a few... I mean, what's he going to do? Not shell shock.
Cradle.
No, don't tell me. Don't tell me. Cradle shock.
Yep, I definitely didn't tell you.
Nope. What are they going to do? Cradle shock Kevin Nash?
Maybe he should.
I don't think he could.
I think he probably could. Nash and Shelley then lower themselves out of sight, but I think they lower themselves too far down because they're meant to have a face-off with Sabin. And I think they bring themselves back just high enough so that they can see over the top of the stands.
I could also believe that was the intended bit.
Yeah, their heads are just poking above so they can have a little jaw jacking with Sabin. So go home episode of Impact, Liam. Of course, we have the X Division debut of Kevin Nash, one of the biggest matches in Impact history. Never mind Sting and Steiner. X Division debut of Kevin Nash.
It's important, Wrestling a face from the past.
Yes, so JB has Nash and Shelley. Shelley has found akin to a clone of Sabin from the future because he knows you can clone people there.
True.
But for the sake of his, anonymity, they don't want to embarrass him too much. They made him wear a mask.
No, they also said because he's ugly as hell.
Yeah, well, how dare they say that about Chris Sabin?
Well, he said that, like, from the neck down, he's exactly the same as Sabin, but just ugly as hell.
Saving us from the idiocy of his face. Nash then sings, Happy Slammiversary, Sabin. I got you on my mind.
I'm sure that's a poignant reference to something.
I don't know what the song is either. I assume it is, but I don't know what the song is.
Yeah, me neither.
But he does that. There's I think it's a YouTube exclusive paparazzi production segment in which he sings Happy Slammiversary Sabin. No, I think he says baby in that one. Happy Slammiversary baby. And that's been stuck in my brain for like 18 years. So it's fun to see it unpacked. It's one of those things that, like, every time Slammiversary comes around every year, I'm like, Happy Slammiversary baby. I don't even know what the song he's parodying is. Somebody tell me. Kevin Nash faces Mr. X.
Mr. X. I'm pretty sure it's PCO.
He's about PCO sized, I think.
Yeah.
Looks just like PCO.
So I'm pretty sure it's PCO.
And PCO is a Frankenstein monster, so that's the right they need to cover the face.
Exactly. So PCO versus Kevin Nash.
Yeah, that is the match, definitely. So PCO is a mini. Yes, PCO is a mini from Hell, Michigan, according to Kevin Nash. Nash says that he knows that's secretly Sabin. Says we must have gotten this guy on short notice.
Mm-hmm.
Short notice, because he's a mini Liam. Short notice.
I get it. Because, like, he's small.
Yeah, it's small, short, small. Get it?
Yep. Mike today just saying the M word this whole time, by the way.
Well, yeah, but that's 2006.
But with, like, vitriol in his voice.
Well, yeah, it's 2006.
It's like, damn, alright, man.
That is not the worst thing to happen on this month of television.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know what? We'll save our fury for when we get to the James gag. But, yeah. He does look, after he does that short notice gag, he does look at Shelley. He's like, he gave me that one. My favorite bit of this is Dawn is very amused by this match because it's Nash, very tall man, wrestling Mr. X, very short man. Nash gives him a chokeslam while on his knees. Nash does a splash off the bottom rope and throws up an X. Nash sits in a chair in the middle of the ring and simply lifts his foot up to do a big boot. And like Dawn is like super on board for most of it, but when he does the big boot, it's like, this is too far.
No, he still loves it. Mike today bullies him into changing his opinion.
Yeah, Mike today is like, you're liking this? How dare you? And Donna's like, it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Then he's like, oh, no, they've gone too far now.
They're
Sorry, Dad.
They're kind of good bits.
It's silly.
It is funny. As Tenay gets more furious, the crowd start playing along and start chanting like TNA, and this is awesome. Nash hits the jackknife for the win. Shelley lifts Nash to his feet as Tenay does close the segment tremendously with just like, what an ass. That's the out. They just go out and Mike Tenay being like, what an ass. I did like Nash selling as if he had the hardest match of his life.
He had to work that style, the exhibition style.
Very fast paced. He did do a dive off the bottom rope, which is very difficult. Slammiversary. We had a 6-way X Division elimination match. Senshi, Jay Lethal, Shark Boy, Alex Shelley, Petey Williams, and Sanjay Dutt.
Now, when you hear 6-way X Division match, you may think, wow, this is going to be kind of high octane.
Yeah, it got 19 minutes too.
Now, imagine if you were wrong about that.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of boring.
Yeah, they're talking in the Observer this month about how they're looking at venues outside of the Impact Zone for pay-per-views. And Dave is like, this match is an example of that, like why you need that, because they did all this stuff and they didn't get a response. And I would simply say, this match wasn't very good, Dave.
No, it was just kind of boring.
It was too long, because in theory, like, they get 19 minutes for the 6-way elimination match, and you're like, that's loads of time, that's good. But it was too much time, and it was quite boring.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have notes, other than, like, Dutt pins Shark Boy with a standing superstar, Lethal pins Shelley with a Dragon Suplex, PD eliminates Lethal with the Canadian Destroyer, Senshi pins PD with the Warrior's Way, and then Dutt with the Warrior's Way out of the corner. That's it. I didn't take notes, other than the eliminations. Senshi wins.
Yay. The Warrior's Way in the corner kind of was sick, though.
Yeah, and he does the big scream when he does it. It's cool.
Yeah.
And I think that this is... I didn't watch his... Because like, he wasn't doing the Warrior's Way, at least as a finish. I don't think he was doing it at all in his first TNA run.
Yeah. I mean, I think he was probably doing double stunts, but I don't know if it was like a finish.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't his finish.
The corner one, yeah.
And I don't think he did the corner one at all. Like, the Key Crusher was his finish in his first TNA run anyway. And, like, obviously, I'm not watching his Ring of Honor stuff at this point, or his, like, Indie or Japan stuff. So maybe he's doing the Warrior's Way there, but it's fun to see, like, a new wrinkle to Senshi, not Loki. If you are wondering who the fuck is Senshi, it's Loki. We'll probably say Senshi because he's Senshi, but it's Loki.
I'm gonna say Loki.
But yeah, the Warrior's Way is a cool move. It
sure is.
A new fun wrinkle for this first version of Loki. We go backstage. JB has Nash and Shelley. Shelley's like, I don't know if you saw it. I wrestled 10, 20 guys. Some had knives, some had guns. And Nash is like, I didn't see that, no. Sorry, he didn't say some have guns. He said some has gacks because he's up on the street lingo.
He said some of them have gacks. That's guns.
Yeah, just to explain it to his old man dad, Nash. It is Father's Day after all. So Nash explains, because it's Father's Day, he has a message for Walt Sabin watching on his crappy 19-inch TV. He's not going to pick up the medical bills, and when they have their sad phone call tonight, and when he's like, Dad, I got my ass kicked by Kevin Nash, and he'll be like, size doesn't matter.
Size does.
We then had a feature, and then we led to Kevin Nash versus Chris Sabin in the Size Matters contest.
Are you excited?
It was like Nash bumped for him, so
like he didn't eat him up.
He didn't. It was like the match it should have been. Like, Nash has more limitations than Steiner does at the moment, which is weird to think about.
Yeah.
Even though Nash does have a 4.25 star match according to you in TNA history.
That's true.
But yeah, it's the exact match you would expect it to be. Nash is big, Sabin is small. Sabin makes comebacks, Nash cuts him off. Nash cheats a little bit with an eye poke, Shelley interferes a little bit. Like, Nash does bump for Sabin's comeback. He bumps for a drop kick. Sabin even gets Nash up on the shoulders for the cradle shock, which he got like remarkable ease. Which is, when you said he could do it, I was like, he really could. He got him up there for it.
Yeah, but I think like the twisting motion is the hardest bit though.
Especially because Nash is really long.
Yeah, because you have to like actually like move him in a safe manner.
You would have to somewhat drop him on his neck and shoulders.
Yeah, that's like could he like wrench him over? Probably. Could he do it safely?
Does he need to do it safely though?
Yeah.
Is it fine if he just drops Kevin Nash on his head?
I don't know. I don't think so.
He got him up for the cradle shock, but Shelley pulled Nash off. Sabin wipes Shelley out with a dive. Sabin hits a springboard clothesline and a top rope leg drop for 2. Shelley crotches Sabin on the exposed turnbuckle, and Nash falls with a jackknife to defeat Chris Sabin.
Very good. Well, not very good. I mean, yeah, it's the first match, right? Like Nash should win.
Yeah.
I don't know where this goes, though.
Well,
I keep like being worried that like Paparazzi Productions is just going to end any day now, and it's going to make me really sad.
Oh no, like Paparazzi Productions runs in one way or another until like July 2007.
Yeah, but like I mean like the Nash combo.
But yeah, like Nash and Shelley are aligned with each other in one way or another until July 07. So you don't have to. You have another year of them. You don't have to worry about them disappearing all of a sudden. I will relieve that tension for you, even if this particular story doesn't really get paid off.
I was like, I don't remember them. Like I don't remember it. So
like there is no instance in which the X Division gets their like triumphant comeuppance on Kevin Nash. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It just becomes Nash just does more bits with more guys, which honestly is probably the better conclusion for entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
Kevin Nash, by all accounts, has been nice and approachable behind the scenes with younger TNA wrestlers. There is no sense he's out to hurt them or ultimately make TNA look bad.
How nice of him.
Again, like, you could be deeply cynical about whether or not you should do this with the X Division. And again, back in 06, fair. You know, should Nash be mocking the X Division being too cool for the X? Probably not. But, like, Nash is mostly mocking himself, and the segments are very funny. Yeah. So, what more could you want?
I'm not going to complain about it.
But people will. People complain about everything, including me.
You do complain about everything.
No, people complain about me is what I was saying, actually.
No, you do complain about everything, it's true.
People complain about me all the time.
Name one.
You.
Yeah, I've raised the bar, yeah.
That brings us over to the tag team division, or the continuing tag team title feud is still AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels versus America's Most Wanted.
We've been talking about this match for 8 months.
Yeah, well, 6 actually.
I am fucking tired of talking about this fucking match.
The first time they did it was the New Year's special. So since January 1st, we've been talking about Styles and Daniels versus AMW.
No, I mean us. Like us in real time.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking about this for like 8 months. And I'm fucking sick of it.
You get one more version of it in July, too.
Fuck off. I'm so sick of it.
Hey, Gale wrestles that time, though.
Good. At least it's something fucking different.
May 25th Impact. The Diamonds in the Rough beat AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels.
Yeah, AJ Styles and Daniels, their big build up to finally winning it is like they lose a bunch like fucking idiots.
I really don't understand this one.
Well, it's this one, and then they lose the 6-man. And, like, the way they get the matches by, like, whining like babies.
Yeah, it's like he should just be like, you fucking lost to the Diamonds in the Rough. Like, why are you getting the tag title match?
Like, really uncool for this build to them finally winning it.
It's really weird.
And then they win it because someone else helps them. Like, it's the stupidest, shittiest booking.
Yeah, and like I don't like when this match happened on him. I was like, oh, Styles and Daniels is just getting a win on TV, so that you justify them giving him. No, they just lose. They just lose to the Diamonds in the fucking rough.
I mean, they lose because of
of interference, yeah, but still.
And the Diamonds in the Rough do celebrate like they've fucking won the Super Bowl.
It is very good. Yeah, they are very pleased.
They should be Daniels and Styles' first title challenges.
They should be. They've earned it. But there's also a note this month that the Diamonds in the Rough have been told they're not going to be booked until the end of the summer.
Why would you give them this?
I don't know, Liam. I don't know.
It's fucking dumb.
I really don't understand what they're doing with any of this.
Stupid, dumb bullshit.
Just have them win and then be like, yo, can we have one last shot or we never get a shot again? Fine. Yeah, we are running out of time on Diamonds in the Rough. We're running out of time on David Young, actually. He has a few more matches, but soon you will never have to see David Young wrestle again, Liam. Does that cheer you up?
No.
You love David Young?
I will miss him. He's been a staple, a TNA original.
You do like their tracksuit.
I will never party at the demise of a TNA original.
You will celebrate when he returns for the Reverse Battle Royal in 2022.
Exactly. That is when I will do the Remember When for him.
Yeah, we do have to wait that long.
Yeah, so if you're expecting one...
A good luck remembering what David Young did by the time we get around to that. So this match, they replay the finish from Sacrifice where Gale threw the baton down and AMW retained due to Gale's outside interference again. Skipper hits Styles with the rope walk Rana, presumably jilted at AJ teaming with his old partner, which they don't acknowledge at all here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm so disconnected on this fucking feud.
Daniels and Skipper, former Triple X partners, you might remember that tag team.
Yeah, I do.
AJ did hit the reverse springboard DDT on both Skipper and Young at the same time. That's just kind of, and then he hit a dive off of Young's back onto Skipper. It's like, AJ, this is a 3-minute TV match in which you are losing. What are you doing?
It's because he hasn't been doing shit.
Yeah, he's just like, I have 3 minutes, and this is like my only match on TV. Well, he has an 8-man tag as well, but this is all I'm doing. I need to get it out of my system while wrestling Elix Skipper and David Young.
He's like, I'm not going to get to wrestle anyone cool from the X Division for like 6 months.
And Skipper and Young are AJ's old NWA Wildside boys.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a bit of that. I'm sure these are old boys, right? Everyone in this match.
And AJ's like, I'll make them look good by hitting all my cool moves.
Can you hear the cat meowing in the background?
I don't, but I'm looking forward to it, because there's a lot of times where I don't hear things until I go back in the edit and they're like, oh, Liam just Googled something that I didn't hear in real time.
Let me hear my own mic for a sec.
Oh, I got it that time, I think.
Damn it.
No, that's a feature. If you hear cats, feature, not a bug.
Yeah, we're in the 12th hour, it's fine.
Storm appears at ringside as Daniels hits Young with the Angel's wings. This distracts the referee as Harris then hits Daniels with a club and drapes Young over Daniels for the win. And as you said, Diamonds and Rough celebrate. They are very pleased with this victory over Styles and Daniels.
As they should be. They're number one contenders now. If I'm Diamonds in the Rough, by the way, I'm going to Larry Zbyszko. I'm like, hey, what the fuck? How did they get the tag title match?
Yeah, they beat Styles and Daniels. They deserve it.
3-way tag title match, please.
Then you were like, I'm super jaded about this Styles and Daniels thing, but I think I know what will pick you up, Liam. The June 1st Impact. AMW versus the Naturals. You got nothing? I think, like LAX, Liam has gone into work stoppage.
It's gonna go for a walk around
His body is just shut down. He needs to go to the cat. He needs to speak with the cat about getting not only another AMW versus the Naturals match, but still not the last AMW Naturals match in TNA history.
I haven't really moved yet, so circulation is all shutting off. I'm slowly dying because my body hasn't experienced any movement. And then you come to me and you say, talk about a fucking AMW Naturals match. Like, no, fuck you.
Mike today is calling this match solo after Don was attacked by Scott Steiner. So he does appear halfway through the match and is like, I wet my pants. I pissed my pants. Scott Steiner was there. As I mentioned, there is still, I think, one more AMW The Naturals match you will have to sit through.
How?
There's another one in July.
Get more tag teams, for the love of God.
You'll finally start getting LAX wrestling in July too, though, so that evens out.
About fucking time.
Gail tries to use a baton, but Styles and Daniels cut her off. Daniels throws the baton to Chase Stevens, who is like, no, I shall not use it. I am a noble, valiant babyface. And he immediately gets hits with a beer bottle and pinned. Franchise watches on as AMW destroy the Naturals. And Styles and Daniels just leave?
They're like, well, we don't really like the Naturals.
Yeah, they're like, we tried to help you, you refused, so we're leaving, even though AMW are going to kick your ass.
I mean, I would... again, Styles and Daniels are weird motherfuckers. They're not, like... I don't find myself actually rooting for them.
You're rooting for AMW?
No. At this point, I'm not rooting for it. I'm rooting for LAX.
Shane Douglas appears, stares at them, walks back down the tunnel. Styles and Daniels are backstage with Larry Z. Larry's like, you lost 3 times.
And they're like, but this time we'll win, please.
Yeah, it's like, it's Gale all along, but give us one last shot, but we have a way to neutralize Gale. And Larry is literally like, if I give you this, will you stop annoying me? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, fine.
That's my champions, baby.
This is why Jim Cornette needs to be brought in to stop like annoying, harassing Larry into the same match over and over again. Go Home Impact main event is an 8-man tag team match. AMW, Bobby Roode, and Monty Brown defeat AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Raven, and Rhino.
I actually like this. After all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just had a fun little 8-man tag. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I thought it was interesting that Daniels just loses again to Monty, of all people.
Who's not on the pay-per-view.
Could have just had, like, Bobby win it, you know?
Well, Monty's a star, though, even though he's leaving.
Yeah, but, like, Bobby's got a singles match. You know, they're trying to elevate him.
Monty did something on the pre-show where he said he's going to start a winning streak of his own, potentially pivoting to something with Joe, but we'll get to that next month. But Liam, you see what they did here was they took a bunch of matches that are matches on the pay-per-view and put them together into a multi-man tag and added Raven and Monty, and I clapped like a seal.
You went arf, arf, arf.
I did. I was like, arf, arf, because they did the thing that I will never criticize anybody for. It's just like, we threw a bunch of stars together in an 8-man tag on TV. Heat, come back, everybody gets their little move in, go to a finish, and I will clap like a seal every single goddamn fucking time. Even on AEW Dynamite, when it's Mark Briscoe and all those people against all those other people, it's just like, yes, yes, do it, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm incredibly easy to please in this regard.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun, you know?
Northern Lights into the corner by Storm allows them to get the heat on AJ. Hot tag to Rhino. Everybody hits their move. Gore to Storm, but Rhino chases D'Amore out of the building. Daniels hits the Angel's Wings on Harris, but Rude makes the save. Gale drops Daniels with the Tornado DDT, and Monty falls with the pounce for the win, period.
Pounce.
We're running out of pounces. We ought to savor every pounce from here.
When he leaves, we're going to be like, just one more pounce, please.
It's like me and AJ on every show.
I need another pounce. I'm going to tune into the ECW 2006. I just need a pounce.
Going down, down, down. Just call me smooth.
Watch me do the things I do.
Slammiversary. JB has AMW. Harris says Styles and Daniels' little experiment has failed because the 2 best X Division wrestlers can't beat the best tag team no matter how many times they try. And Gale is like, you got a neutralizer for me? I'm the best. Nobody can neutralize me. I'm Gail Kim.
Blah. She says. She goes, blah.
Which is what I think you went to the match, which is AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels defeat America's Most Wanted to become NWA World Tag Team Champion.
What about it?
So they went 1 too many for you think?
I think they went about 7 too many for me. If they got the TW knock of booking the same match too many times.
Yeah, because this is the 4th time they've done this for the titles this year. 3rd since they started this as an actual feud since lockdown. So
yeah, I'm done with it. I got no interest in it. Like, it could be really good, but I just eyes glaze over.
They say AMW has been the longest reigning champions ever at this point. They did miss a CW Anderson and Pat Anderson reign in the 90s that was longer, but other than that, it is the longest NWA World Tag Team title reign.
I just lie about it anyway.
Yeah, and it's fucking CW Anderson in the 90s. That doesn't count. Styles and Daniels run wild. Daniels stomps Harris's head into Storm's crotch, which brings our monthly Brokeback Mountain chant. Brokeback Mountain. Brokeback Mountain. Spills out to the floor. Styles goes for a forearm off the apron, but Storm knocks his legs out and they get the heat. AJ escapes in the eye of the storm, hits the Pele, hot tag to Daniels. Dawn is like, Pele? The World Cup is on. How fitting is that?
Where's Pele from?
Brazil.
They're a good team historically.
One of the better teams historically.
Good work. Oh, Pele's mother, Celeste Arantes, died yesterday.
Pele's mother outlived Pele?
101 years old.
I'm also saying Pele, which I should... Pele. It's Pele. What am I doing? Don West has Pele pilled me.
Yeah.
Ripped Pele's mom.
Oh, that's sad.
What?
She spent 5 years in a vegetative state and was not informed about her son's death in 2022.
Oh, well, I guess she was in the vegetative state.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
If I'm like 96 and you're like, death or vegetative state?
Yeah, I'm probably just like cashing out.
Give me death. So the entire hook of this match is that Styles and Daniels have a neutralizer for Gail Kim. After Gail Kim has cost them the tag titles 4 times or whatever at this point, they finally have a thing to counteract Gail Kim, and it's just a very large woman.
Yes.
A very large woman shows up, choke slams Gail Kim, and then leaves with Gail Kim. And the way Styles and Daniels interact with this very large woman is so amusing to me.
They're as confused as everyone else is.
Because it does not seem to them like they know this woman.
They don't. I think they're like, this is not who we had planned.
I would like, actually, like that's like Larry Zbyszko getting his management position. He just showed up one day. Like, this woman just showed up and neutralized Gail, and it's like...
And happened to be wearing the same color clothes as their gear.
Yeah, it's like, I guess she's with us. We thought it was going to be Jackie, but...
Yeah. I think everyone thought it was going to be Jackie.
I would imagine the entire point of this was meant to be Jackie costs or stops Gail here, but then Jackie got pregnant, so they just needed to find another woman.
They could probably just have, like, Jackie hit her with something.
Yeah, like, they do set up a match the next month. There's a 6-person tag with Gail and Sorelda, as it turns out, is the name of the large woman. The Days of Thunder's thing is a large man appears. Our thing is now a large woman appears. But, yeah, Sorelda. So we get a 6-person tag next month with Gail and Sorelda involved. So maybe that's why they didn't want Jackie there to do. But, yeah, for the sake of the story payoff, it would have made more sense to have Jackie just come out, hit Gail with something, and then Styles and Daniels retain. Then you can just have them fire Jackie or something then, you know, because she's costing the titles.
Yeah, and then they still have control over her contract or whatever. And then you don't have to run the match back. It's a win-win-win-win-win.
Everybody's happy. But yeah, Styles and Daniels don't interact with her. They don't like high-five her or thank her. They just kind of stand around as she takes out Gail. It's very funny.
Yeah. They look very confused, and that is the most amusing part of it.
Storm chucks a chair right at Daniels' skull, but Daniels kicks out. AJ misses the spiral tap. Storm drops him with a handcuff punch, but Daniels pulls the referee out as they point out that's a thing AMW have done multiple times themselves in the past, so turnabout is fair play, even though the heels are cheating. But the babyfaces are cheating. But the babyfaces are counteracting the cheating, so that still makes them... I don't know. Daniels hits Storm with the Angel's Wings. Harris elbow drops to the ref. Storm accidentally hits Harris with a beer bottle. Frog splash BME finish. Big pop for the finish. Styles and Daniels are champions. They celebrate in the crowd.
It was a cool finish.
Yeah, I like the BME frog splash as the Styles and Daniels finish. They do the high-low as well, but like the BME followed by the frog splash looks really good. Especially because they do it from like opposing corners, so they come from either side of the ring, like back to back. It looks really good. The woman who helped AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels at the Slammiversary pay-per-view is Jamie D, who trained at one of Scott D'Amore's training sessions in Canada. I actually think she was shown on screen at one point in TNA history before this when they did some like gut check video, because she won one of the gut checks.
From Jamie D to Bozilla, Scott D'Amore training story.
Yeah, she is like prototype Bozilla. Jamie D walked so Bozilla could run.
Yeah.
How fucking awesome would it be if Bozilla was here to stop Gail Kim?
That would be perfect.
We need Bozilla to time travel.
Yeah. She's wearing the colors.
Does Bozilla wear the blue and white?
Yeah, she wears the blue and the white and the black.
Bozilla, time travel.
Oh my god.
We do finally have new NWA World Tag Team Champions. AMW have held the belts since October, so their reign has come to an end at the hands of Styles and Daniel.
Can I give Tag Team of the Year to no one?
You're probably going to just give it to LAX.
I mean, we'll see how they go. Maybe they have to impress me. I'm not so easily won over.
Or you could give it to our next feud. I think Tag Team of the Year should go to Team 3D or the James Gang, right? You love that.
I mean, I like this match. I haven't loved other elements of the feud as much as you have.
I think you have signed off and underlined on everything Kip James in particular has ever said as part of this feud.
I think if I recall correctly.
Yeah? Nothing?
I think you're just a big fan of Father Asshole.
What? Oh, Father... Oh, right.
I realized if you didn't understand what I was doing, that's an insane thing to say.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck is Father Asshole?
Just get through this shitty racist shit so we can wrap this shit up.
May 18th, Impact. Team 3D is with JB. It says nothing is settled at Sacrifice. They're mad that the James Gang hit Devon in the shoulder with a pipe to win. They then do an extended bit where Bully like hypes up Devon every time he does like a bit of a promo. He'd like tap Devon on the shoulder, and Devon's like, "What the hell, man? My shoulder's hurt." He's like the Barry lad and Will Ospreay. They take a shot, one of many this month, at WWE reviving ECW and say, "Leave it dead and buried where it belongs because the heart and soul are in TNA." He was like, at the pay-per-view at Sacrifice when we wrestled, I thought it was a wrestling match, so I threw a drop kick. And then Devon was like, that was a drop kick? And I was like, leave my drop kick alone.
It was a fine drop kick.
He was gassed after it, but he did throw a perfectly fine drop kick.
This is good Team 3D banter.
I was going to ask you, how do you feel about, because they're doing like the arguing brothers routine, which is kind of their act at the moment.
Yeah.
They're like brothers who get along, but then they do a little bickering, but they're doing a bit of comedy. You into that bit of them?
Yeah, I like it.
It is fun. It is light comedy.
I mean, to me, it's always better than them like doing the greatest tag team ever, blah blah blah. Because like, I just don't believe that at all.
Whereas a bit of silliness, bit of like mocking themselves, you're more into that.
Yeah.
So they challenged the James Gang to any kind of hardcore match at Sacrifice, and then Bully taps Devon on the shoulder once again, and Devon's like, what the hell, man?
It's Mom.
And I assume you're going to say good stuff about this next segment. So May 25th Impact.
No, I'll let you carry this one actually, because like you were DMing me about how much you enjoyed this. So.
You know, I need to rest my voice. I think I'm going to take a deep sip of this milk I have on in front of me, and I think you should talk about this one, Liam. I think you should do this one.
But you say that, but I actually think that like you're more qualified to talk about this segment.
I hear the cat behind you is like meow meow meow. Liam, talk.
I better go get it. Actually, so I'll just let you handle this while I go and I'll stop it.
Team 3D's music hits. The James Gang come out. BG is dressed as a fat brother Ray.
Classic comedy.
Kip, Liam.
Yeah.
How do you think Kip is dressed?
Could you describe it as dressed?
Yes.
So listeners, you may have like heard of blackface before.
Yes.
Thing that pops up every now and again, especially in relation to DX related people.
Yeah.
But like, imagine if it was just all of his body.
All of it.
And really, it's so abrasive. Just so much going on.
It is. So Kip is dressed as Devon. Completely dressed as Devon.
Yeah.
As you said, blackface is almost minimizing it.
Because it's everything.
Yes, his entire upper body is painted to be like Devon.
It's so ridiculous.
It is outrageously racist.
Why 2006?
Yeah.
2006?
But you see, Liam, everyone always talked about how that segment where DX dressed as the Nation was so good and so funny and so good, so they did it again.
2006.
Yeah. He's doing blackface. Again, blackface is only an element of what he's doing.
Why have we had to talk about blackface so much in our TNA retrospective podcast?
Did someone else do blackface?
Bully Ray.
Oh, well, that was more, like, that was, like, dubious. What the fuck are you doing?
It was dubious, but, like, that, I also do think that was the bit that he was doing.
Yeah, that did tip to, but, like, that was one that had plausible deniability. You know,
Yeah.
If you accused Bully Ray of doing blackface or that, he'd be like, don't know what you're talking about. That was just war paint, you know?
Yeah.
This is a man doing blackface.
The most.
All of the blackface, all of the black torso, all of the black arms. It's not even funny. Like, the segment is bad.
The bit, it's not even a funny bit. Like, not that would justify it, but like, it's just, it's nothing. And then like, it ends in nothing. Like, Team 3D doesn't come out and, like, beat him up.
It's not like there would be a funny version of blackface, but, like, the stuff BG is doing isn't even funny. He's just doing a bad...
Yeah.
He kind of drops in and out of trying a New York accent. Like, the actual bit Kip does is he just keeps shouting, my brother, testify.
It's so weird to watch and see, like, that, like, no one, like, addresses it.
Yeah, it's really weird that, like, Team 3D aren't offended at the blackface.
And, like, commentary aren't even particularly offended.
No, and even the next week, Team 3D are like, actually, it was kind of a good bit. It's like, no! It's bad. It's really bad. It's 2006, though. That's the problem. Like, like the bad thing they're doing here isn't the blackface. That's just normal.
2006?
The bad thing they're doing is, like, mocking Devon, just generally.
The year of X-Men The Last Stand.
Yeah, blackface still acceptable on national fucking television. Like, this isn't even, like, if it was, like, tiny-ass Asylum TNA...
To 1 million people.
Yeah, 1 million people watched this episode of Impact, and it's like, yep, that's just normal.
It's not even like the lack of outrage, because like I don't think you would expect outrage. But it's like the fact that it's treated as nothing.
Yeah, it's just a thing that has happened.
It's kind of mind blowing.
So yeah, they do the usual Philly indie bingo hall gags were bad. Kip keeps shouting, "Oh, my brother, testify." BG is doing a bad New York accent while calling Bully fat. None of the bits are good. Then they get serious and pivot to Slammiversary, which makes it even weirder that they're doing serious wrestling promos while dressed like this. Accepts the challenge laid out last week and say, we don't really care what the stipulation is. Kip says, nobody moves, nobody gets hurt, whammo. And he does a cross chop. That's how the segment ends. He says whammo as he does a cross chop. He says whammo. Yep.
Next week.
Team 3Ds with JB. They found last week very funny, actually, but points out they also did it 8 years ago. And then they point out the various jabs. Bully actually kind of gets mad at the fat jokes because he has a thyroid problem. But where they really stepped over the line is when they mocked the arena, Liam. They mocked South Philly. Not the blackface. They mocked the ECW arena, and that's the problem.
Yeah. That's when you've gone too damn far.
Calls them jealous, says insulting that might as well be calling their mother a whore. Bully's like, my mom's not, but I don't know about Devon. Devon gets upset at this. He's like, he tells him to get off your mother. Bully, get off my mother. JB, get off my mother. Everybody get off my mother.
Bully's like, yeah, we'll get off your mother, alright? Hey, yo!
My tripod's right here. They'll show him what the bingo hall really means to them. Devon hits the catchphrase, and Bully's like, I wasn't done yet. Devon says, now you're done. June 8th Impact. T3D are in Philly. They're in the ECW arena. Says it reminds me of the Impact Zone. They're going to bring South Philly to Orlando at Slammiversary. Then they set like a 3D on fire.
I kind of liked that segment.
They had the little 3D in lighter fluid below them, set it on fire.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, it kind of sets up expectations that they're going to use fire at Slammiversary.
Which I think there was a chant for, and then they didn't. Following week, they show footage of the house show from the ECW arena, where the James Gang and Team 3D brawled, and the ring was filled with chairs. So, Liam, you might have noticed blackface aired on TV, right?
Yeah.
A lot of drug references have been cut out of the promos hyping the Team 3D versus James Gang match for Sunday's pay-per-view. Management wasn't comfortable with airing those accusations and references on Spike.
That's so insane. It's so insane.
Of all the things this month.
Oh, morality is so fucking weird.
To have content cut for the sake of standards of purity or whatever.
What are we doing?
The blackface makes the air, but like BG James did drugs does not.
What are we doing?
Also, Conan took shots at BG's drug use a few months ago.
What are we...
It's been an opening clip in our show for a while. Well, we took it out for, I think, last month. But have you been painting in an unventilated room, you've got to go back to rehab, was a Conan line a few months ago.
Yeah.
But yes, there is a standard for the stuff that was included in this program. And the blackface made air.
So silly.
Brings us to the pay-per-view.
And then they have a pretty kick-ass match.
They kind of do. They open the pay-per-view. They don't even do entrances. They just brawl down the ramp as the show starts and the match starts. It is a bingo hall brawl, by the way. I don't think I said that in, I think, the Team 3D segment. They're like, we're going to face you in a bingo hall brawl.
Which I thought meant they were just going to, like, film the match off location.
Oh, like cinematic style?
Yeah.
Or just like brawl in like the empty ECW arena.
Yeah.
Which might have been a cooler idea, but they had a good match.
Yeah, like...
You have been saying for the longest time that you would love BG James to be a plunder guy.
Yeah.
And you have finally gotten it here.
Well, yeah, I like it. It's just unfortunately he's still saddled with the carcass that is Billy Gunn.
Who does bleed at least a lot.
Yeah. I think I might dislike Billy Gunn more than I dislike BG James now.
Really?
Yeah.
Has his, like, interminably long AEW run actually hindered that as well?
I don't think so. I just think, like, I feel like BG actually puts a little effort in when he wrestles. Like Kip does nothing.
At all.
Nothing at all. He's so useless. And, like, he's not interesting. None of his promos are good. At least BG's delivered some good promos.
Have you considered he did a cross chop and said whammo?
I did not.
Does that change anything?
Listen, if you want to count that segment as a big positive in your Billy Gunn book, that's up to you. But to me, I think it was a bad segment.
But he does bleed in this match at least.
I don't care. I don't want him on my screen. Are the New Age Outlaws just the worst tag team ever to exist?
What?
Like, are the New Age Outlaws, the James Gang,
are
they just the worst?
I think there's obviously worse teams. Like,
yes, but you know what I mean? Are they just the worst?
If you were to, like, are they the worst major pushed tag team act in wrestling history? They're definitely up there.
Like, they're just so bad.
And, like, the funny thing is, they are an influential team. There is two teams that you could say are directly influenced by the New Age Outlaws. There is Enzo and Cass, who were a catchphrase who outstayed their welcome. And there's the Acclaimed, who were a catchphrase who outstayed their welcome.
And the Guns, but they legally have to.
Well, even the Guns aren't really, like, New Age Outlaws guys.
They're Smoking Guns guys.
They're just kind of heel crony tag team guys, you know?
That sounds like the New Age Outlaws.
But, like, the Guns have more in common with the Naturals than they have with the James Gang, you know?
Fair.
Whereas, like, the kind of catchphrase charisma tag team, which is Enzo and Cass, and that's the Acclaimed. The Acclaimed are more of a work rate version of it, but that makes sense because they're in AEW.
Yeah.
But, like, those are, like, the direct descendants of the New Age Outlaws. And both of them are teams that seemed cool and over at first, and then were like, fucking go away after a while.
Yeah.
So even their influence is the same. It's just like, this is bad, annoying, and go away.
I'm sick of them. I want them gone. What's the timer? How much more do I have to deal with these fuckers?
BG lasts until the start of 2009. Kip lasts until like the middle of 2009.
2009?
Yeah, you got another 3 years of these boys.
How is it 2009?
And they will have some bad shit with Christy Hemme toward the end of the year, start of next year. Yep. Bully hip tosses Kip onto a guardrail set up on some steps. Kip takes a pretty bad bump onto it too because he's not a good wrestler.
I'm sure Kip James has taken plenty of bad bumps in his life.
No, we have to cut that out. No.
Why? Yeah, exactly. We can't leave that in.
Our morality standards, Liam. No.
No.
BG jumps off the steps over the rail into Devon, which he looked very cautious about, but he did it, just about.
Yeah, he's still committed to it.
Kip comes up bleeding after a cheese grater. 3D on Kip through a table for the win. Bully says that's how it should be done.
But now let's take it back and reverse it and talk about the one cool part of... not the one cool part, but like a cool little side bit in this match.
Well, we'll go through the entire story because
that's what I mean. Like, we'll take it back like all the way through and then bring it back to this point, man.
So there is a running story through the month. During the P.D. Williams-Chris Sabin World X Cup final in the first show of the month, May 18th, they cut to LAX, who are now on a work stoppage. The Spanish announce table is Spanish only, no gringos, and they've declared a border in the Impact Zone.
Yeah.
So if you cross into their territory, they'll beat the shit out of you. So there's a few times, again, the four-way Senshi, Jay Lethal, Alex Shelley, Shark Boy match, same thing, cut to LAX. They're holding the Spanish announce area hostage, work stoppage, refusing to work due to how they've been treated. AMW and the Naturals, same thing. Mike Tenay plugs the Spanish announce team, and he says he's been hearing a lot about how they've been furthering their political agenda and talking about immigration reform on commentary. And that they're still refusing to wrestle because, like all times in American history, you might be like, oh, at the time, immigration was a big issue. It's like, well, look at now. All times in American history, immigration is a big divisive... No, it's not a divisive issue. It's an issue that's used to create division, which I think is how it should always be framed. It is not a divisive issue. It is an issue being used for division. But it's very relevant now. I think there's like the guest worker bill going through like Congress or something at this point. So it's a notable thing. JB gets the assignment on the June 1st Impact of having to investigate the Spanish announce area. Conan's like, this is LAX's border, and if you got no papers, you stay the fuck out. This is our region, and JB just runs away.
Which my favorite line is like, Conan goes, homicide, if he gets too close, stick him.
Yeah, stab that gringo. June 8th Impact, Sanjay Dutt faces Jarrell Clark.
Mm-hmm.
The point of this match is not this match. It is merely a backdrop for Conan to join commentary. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I've walked over here. I want to see how you guys live. Production, you get producers, people are bringing you water. We get none of that shit. We're stuck in the dark corner of the building.
He's got some points. He has to be there with the fucking fans.
Yeah, they're just stuck over there with the freaking riffraff. Of course, like this is not the first Conan calls everybody racist angle we've had in TNA.
No, but they're all correct and good.
Yeah, we had one in, was it 2003, where like he did the famous wrestling fans are racist line. Which I believe includes him.
Has he?
I think he said some shit. I don't remember. Conan points out, just like he did that, so when he did that with like sit-down injury with Mike Tenay, he was bringing like Super Crazy and Hoovy, and he brought someone else in as well. I don't remember. Heavy Metal or somebody? Or Bestie? Yeah. Back in 2003, he was like, oh, you know, the X Division has co-opted its cultural appropriation. It's taken from Lucha Libre. So they're doing a more cultural play on, of course he's a heel both times, but they're doing a more culturally relevant play on that, where Mike Tenay is literally like, you're using the commentary to further your political agenda, and Conan simply replies, damn right, you're all racist. It's like, today you're a corporate kiss ass and you know the X Division is a rip-off of Lucha Libre. Team Mexico tore the house down, and which debatable, but he says Team Mexico tore the house down during the World X Cup and got sent home. There's no Mexicans in positions of power, and you're just sitting here and you're getting producers and water being brought to you and all this shit, and we get nothing.
Sorry, because I've been digging deep looking for Conan.
No, it was something about Takeshita, wasn't it?
Oh, I found the Takeshita line.
Ah, there you go.
Well, Takeshita, he's got heat with me, and he's lucky I wasn't in El Paso, because when he went up and he did the fucking Eddie Guerrero thing for the frog splash, you're not Mexican, dude, I don't care, stick to your nationality.
So wrestling fans are in fact racist, including Cornette.
And someone in this response said, Conan, aren't you Cuban?
Listen, hypocrisy and racism, never.
Okay.
He points out that the octagon ring was taken from Mexico, and Don's like, it's a fucking hexagon, comprende? It's just like, Don.
Proving his point.
Tenay tries to do like the worst thing, and he's like, Sanjay Dutt in the ring. He's an immigrant, graduated from university. He tries to play like the good immigrant versus bad immigrant thing. It's like, Mike. And then Conan's like, that assimilating little kiss-ass Sanjay Dutt, he doesn't count. Gerald Clark then misses the 630 and Sanjay wins with a standing shooting star. Conan says, if you're Latino, LAX have your back.
Is that like them setting up something?
We'll see.
What do you mean?
It is, like, they do stuff with Sanjay next month.
Yeah, I meant more like if you're Latino, we have your back. Like, is there someone else that they're going to align with? Or?
I don't think so. I think that's just a general statement for the Latino out there.
Oh, okay. I thought they were like teasing, like, bring people in or something.
June 15th, Impact. Thrilling tag team contest between two titans of the tag team division. It's the Diamonds in the Rough versus the Naturals.
You talk.
Oh, okay. Mike and Don note how unenthusiastic...
What do you mean, okay?
Oh, as if you would talk about it.
Okay, I'll talk about it.
You tell me all about Diamonds in the Rough and the Naturals.
They have a match. Diamonds in the Rough win. The whole time they spent it talking about Cornette.
Good job.
You happy? Actually, I do have one thing about it.
Yeah?
My favorite thing is the Naturals, like, they're doing the fight, they're doing the brawl. This is skipping ahead, I don't care. And they go into the LAX territory, and the LAX beat the fuck out of them and just throw them back over to the side. It is so funny to watch, like, them be like, yeah, babyface is fine, boom, 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 boom. And then they just get their shit kicked out of them and dumped on the side of the ring.
They crossed the border, Liam. They went to the wrong side.
But it's so funny to see them just, like, get... Like, this is a month of the Naturals just getting their asses handed to them, and this is so embarrassing.
They just get owned left, right, and center.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Mike and Don note how unenthusiastic the Spanish announce team is, and I think they learned nothing from what Conan said to them last week. Yeah. I am stunned, Liam, that somebody credibly pointed out accusations of racism, and people just didn't learn anything from it.
They made excuses.
Mike and Don preview the upcoming Knockouts DVD, which Don pitches it as bikinis, bikinis, bikinis.
I wonder what the Spanish commentary was saying during the blackface segment.
Oh, that's a fun thing. Track down the Spanish impact for that.
Yeah, I can't speak Spanish, so someone else left.
I think I might be able to find the Spanish file for that show.
It'd be interesting to see if, like, they use that to be like, yeah, this company's super racist.
Yeah, that's proven our point.
Yeah.
Chase somehow ends up bleeding again. He was bleeding in a beatdown at some point. One of the times they got their ass kicked this month, he started bleeding. I think it was when AMW beat them up, he started bleeding. And I can't work out when he started bleeding in this match, but suddenly he's just bleeding.
I don't know. I don't remember that either.
They hit the Natural Disaster on Young, but referee gets distracted. Diamond hits Andy Douglas with a chain, allowing David Young to get the Diamonds in the Rough second win this month. Whoa.
They should be the number one contenders to Styles and Daniels.
They are the winningest tag team that aren't America's Most Wanted this month.
They have less losses than America's Most Wanted.
As you said, the Naturals chase Simon Diamond, but they chase them to the Spanish announce border, so LAX start beating their ass and just dump them over the rail.
It's so embarrassing the way they throw them. It's like straight up 2 sacks of shit.
Franchise then walks out. He shouts at the Naturals for being total failures. Said Chris Candido took them to the tag team titles and this is what you become. All while an Irish jackass tries to quote unquote rape the legacy of the company they made. First of all, don't you associate Vince with my country. You keep Vince away from my fucking country.
Yeah, he's American, alright?
Don't you put him on us. Unfortunate choice of words from Franchise there, though. They may, Extreme lives right here in the Impact Zone. The crowd are very pleased, so Shane Douglas commits to being their manager. But yes, they have to do everything he asks. He promises to Candido and his father to take the Naturals right back to the top of the business. So he lied to dead Chris Candido.
He didn't know.
And as they cut away, Mike and Don are throwing to something. The crowd are chanting, "You've still got it," at Shane Douglas. He just cut a promo, guys, so he will manage the Naturals after they got their ass beat all month.
Yeah. Hey, at least they still have someone in their core. To be honest, if I'm the Naturals, I'm probably like, yeah, this month has sucked. Shane, we'll do whatever you want.
Yeah, things aren't working out for us.
It's worth a shot.
Scott Steiner injured Andy. He came back and nobody cared.
Nobody cares about us at all.
We didn't even try to get revenge on Scott Steiner.
Because we know he'd kick our ass.
And then we do, as you said, circle all the way back to Team 3D versus the James Gang in the Bingo Hall Brawl. As they brawl down the ramp to start the show, they brawl into the crowd over to the LAX area, where LAX attacked Devon. And then you had a momentary meltdown.
I was gonna be so fucking mad.
Because BG and Conan share like a fist bump. They share like a moment of respect where it seems like LAX aren't going to attack old 3LK friend BG James. But then they do. They beat his ass too.
They were feuding like a month and a half ago.
And this does technically mean we've ended the show on 3LK Family Drama one more time. Even though we'll do it next month too.
It's just like, fuck you. Don't even tease that. They shouldn't even be. They should have jumped him immediately. They spent a year and a half fucking hating each other.
Well, they spent a year and a half building toward hating. There's times in that year and a half where they kind of liked each other.
The hate was palpable, and it was only like a month and a half ago.
Lockdown, yeah.
Like, there shouldn't have even been a moment.
If
it was 3 years afterwards, in 2009, when they'll still apparently be fucking around in the company.
Conan won't be.
You don't need to do that. You could have just let me have the bit, okay? You want family drama now? We got family drama.
Fight. But yeah, they beat the shit out of BG and Devon because they crossed into the border as LAX. Continue their work stoppage and continue to attack anybody who comes to their border without papers. We're done, Liam.
I've come to the conclusion about Slammiversary 2006. It fucking sucks.
Why?
It's a bad show with one good match. Everything else can fuck off.
There is some holes in the booking this month, you might say.
Like, it can all fuck off. Everything with Steiner and Joe can fuck off 1,000 times. Bad show. Decent TV month. Too much racism. Fuck TNA.
We'll be back with the Victory Road 2006 episode in a little while. Coming up, we'll also have episodes of Rain Takers and Gift of the Pods on Patreon too. You can follow us on Twitter at TNA History Pod. Follow me on Twitter at Garrett Kidney. Follow Liam on Twitter at The Gleet Muda. Subscribe to us on Patreon at patreon.com/kiddingme or tnachat.com. You can subscribe to us on YouTube at You've Got to Be Kidding Me or follow us on TikTok at TNA History. Thanks for listening and bye-bye.
I don't want to do the damn thing anymore.
Yeah, you have to find a new thing that's not tied to blackface people.
Yeah. Got your tripod right here.
Hello everyone, my name is Taylor.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are the co-hosts of Jumping Bomb Audio, the #1 show all about the world of Joshi Pro Wrestling. Episodes drop every other Monday where we discuss the biggest Joshi news, review shows, and preview the hottest upcoming Joshi action.
So whether you're a new fan or an old fan, we've got something here for you at Jumping Bomb Audio.
Check us out on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.